3.
Welcome to Red Wilson Field Greetings. The Cape Cod Baseball League is back. It's been over 18 months, but we're ready to roll. I'm Will Connerly alongside Brad Klein. There was a little bit of a wait, but the nation's best amateur baseball league is back in action, and it starts today. Cape Cod League, Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox against the Brewster Whitecaps.
Yeah, let's go. I'm ready. It's been a long time, right? And we had to stir in our bedrooms, just throwing a baseball against the wall, trying to make that count. Doesn't count, not enough. Cape Cod Baseball League, it's back, and it's better than ever. Yarmouth Dennis and Brewster should be a good matchup here in the first game.
There's a boatload of talent in this league. You said better than ever. And, of course, with the shortened drafts over the past couple years, that exhausts more eligibility, more opportunities for players to come back. But let's focus on the players in this game right now, specifically the pitchers. It's going to be a pair of right-handers going up against each other. Let's first start with the home team, Luis Ramirez. What do you see in that righty? A very special kid when we talk to Coach Pickler.
Well, Luis Ramirez coming in as the opening day starter, that's not a coincidence. Bottom line is, usually Coach Pickler for Yarmouth Dennis has been doing this for 23 years. Usually there's kind of a catch-22. Who do I put in the rotation? What kind of decisions do I make with only 3 practices before game 1? This year, it was a no-brainer. Luis Ramirez was going to be the first guy, and the 5 guys after that, it was pretty much a no-brainer. So we'll see what the rest of the rotation has to offer. For Ramirez, he has a breakaway slider, and I'm very interested to see how that translates from Long Beach State onto the Cape Cod League. Long Beach, great program, and you have a couple of dirtbaggers right here in the Cape Cod League, so it's not like there's going to be a talent gap that he's going to have to make up for, but Ramirez right now is really going to get to show off his stuff here on the East Coast.
Excited to see that 90-mile-an-hour fastball. He can exceed velocities. The scouts love to see that. Of course, a very talented arm, but also a right-hander from Auburn. Interesting story there, getting the nod for the Brewster Whitecaps. What do you know about him?
Oh, Mason Barnett getting the start out of Auburn, and that's something that at least I was surprised to see, right? Because he only had 5 appearances coming from the SEC, and only one of them was a start. Bottom line, though, 7 innings, 2-run ball in his 1 start in the SEC. So I know that he doesn't want to be playing right now on the YD Red Sox Baseball League. I'm going to be honest with you, Will. I think he wants to be playing on another network. It's 4 letters, by the way, ESPN. You might have heard of it. But bottom line, Auburn baseball, that's going to be a different kind of dynamic coming for Barnett than Ramirez. So 2 schools of thought on the same bump tonight. Here in Yarmouth Dennis.
It's the opening night, long-awaited time for Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox fans. Of course, one of the more successful franchises in the past decade and a half, 6 league titles, of course, since 2004. Some big-time players have come through the ranks over that time, but some big-time players, of course, for this year's squad. They have an opportunity to write their own script. Who's some stars or a star for the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox that you want to watch out for?
This is a talking point throughout the season, but it's especially a talking point right now. Brooks Lee hitting in the 3-hole for YD, playing shortstop, and that's the kind of the golden boy that you got to look out for coming from Cal Poly. A switch hitter who can kind of spray all over the field and do it all. Brooks Lee is the guy that I'm really looking out for the Red Sox in 2021.
I think that makes 2 of us. Drafted out of high school, went to go play for his dad in college, had a little bit of an injury his freshman year, but National Freshman of the Year honors this year. A great player, and we're going to see a ton of that in this league here this year. Very excited to see it.
Can't wait. Brooks Lee and the YD Red Sox back at it again here in 2021.
Of course, the lineups, we're going to give those to you coming up as the Red Sox are taking the field. So we'll look forward to seeing what the Red Sox are bringing out. Of course, you said Ramirez going to be on the mound, and he's doing the warm-up tosses right now. And this is the Brewster Whitecaps lineup that he'll face. Colin Davis leading off in center field, and then to follow the left fielder Richie Schiekofer. After that, Gavin Cross in right field. To follow is Will Simpson, the designated hitter in the cleanup spot. The third baseman Jake Thompson to follow. Then the first baseman Clayton Owens, Cooper Weiss, and then Curtis Byrne. To round out the lineup is Alex Freeland as Ramirez is doing the warm-up tosses. Excited to see what this right-hander can do. You mentioned his nice slider and, of course, that fastball that can spin at a very high rate. Of course, we'll see how he can utilize his defense today. We'll go around the horn. Smith in left, Graham in center, Luttrell in right, Haas at third, Lee, who you talked about, at shortstop, Ferreris at second, Baez at first, and the battery mate, our pregame interviewee, Hunter behind the plate. So excited to see what that will look like for the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox. The lineups are set. Cade Hunter, though, behind the plate from Virginia Tech, working with the Long Beach State right-hander as we're ready to start off this season 2021 opener, and the crowd is settling in. They've brought the chairs and they're up the left field and right field line here for this home opener and season opener for the YD Red Sox.
Bottom line, first time I've ever been on Cape. I'm going to level with you. Coming from New Jersey, the most beach chairs I've ever seen off a beach. Right there.
Absolutely, and that's
first superlative of the year for Red Wilson Field.
And Red Wilson Field has had a lot of superlatives. Of course, they've clinched a couple of league titles at this field, hosted a few all-star games, and the fans have waited a long time to see what's about to happen now. The first pitch as Ramirez is done with his warm-up tosses, and he'll face Colin Davis, the center fielder from Brewster, atop of this order.
Now Davis, a senior coming from Wofford, and when you're a senior on Cape, that's so much experience that you're boasting in that locker room early on.
First pitch swinging, grounded to the left side. Lee throws it across the diamond over to Baez, and there's one pitch and one out for the right-hander Ramirez. Quick way to get some work on the mound. You get the nod on opening day, one pitch, one out.
Yeah, there you go, making quick work right there of Colin Davis. And Ramirez wants to make the most of his CCBL experience, right? He wants to stay deep into this game. And immediately, despite the analytics and the craze for strikeouts, he gets the ball on the ground.
Gets the sign from Hunter and delivers a wicked slider for the first pitch for a strike. Getting it right in there, 0-1 the count here to the left-handed hitting left fielder, Richie Schieckhofer.
Now Schieckhofer, a transfer from Maryland to Rutgers.
And the slider, once again, he's ahead 0-2 in the count.
And we were talking to him before the game, and he mentioned that being back at Rutgers, he's playing with a lot of high school teammates from Millburn, New Jersey, and that's where he's most comfortable. So really seeing Schieckhofer come into his own.
The 0-2 pitch upstairs, tried to climb the ladder, but Schieckhofer laid off, hit .316 in 44 games this year at Rutgers. Millburn, New Jersey native. Swinging from the left side toward the top of the order for the Brewster Whitecaps. And the slider is paint on the outside black, the first strikeout of the season for Ramirez. It's thrown around the horn, and it was 3 sliders that accounted for all 3 of the strikes. Brad, you mentioned in the pregame show you were excited to see that slide piece, and you saw it 3 times there to make work of Schieckhofer.
That's his best pitch right there, and even to the lefty, that front door slider is just lethal, not afraid to go to it early.
Now coming in another left-handed hitter, Gavin Cross, and first pitch swinging fouled off to the right side. So Ramirez getting ahead once again. He hit 14 batters in his COVID freshman season in 2021. You mentioned some of those control components that he wanted to refine and settle in here as he's working on the mound right now, but the right-hander looks locked in early on. Pitch misses low. The right fielder, Gavin Cross, here for Brewster. One ball, one strike, 2 outs. It was a ground out, then a strikeout looking. And that pitch looks like it came in and hit Cross, so he'll go and reach first base via the hit by pitch. And that will extend it over to the designated hitter, Will Simpson.
Well, that's what I was talking about, that front door slider. If you miss a little bit, it's a dangerous pitch to throw. If you miss up, then it's gonna be hit, especially by this talent, Gavin Cross especially, and he hits him on the toe right there. So let's see if Ramirez stays with the slider, though.
Working here against the designated hitter Simpson, and he hits it up the middle. So after 2 outs, 2 runners reach base, and there's 2 on and 2 outs for Jake Thompson, who's going to make his way to the plate. Nice piece of hitting, noticing that Ramirez is working in the zone early, and another first pitch swinging and a base knock for Simpson, the first hit we've seen.
Right up the middle, and you said nice piece of hitting. That's exactly what you have to do. Just sit back on it, wait for your pitch, and a good guess early on.
Here comes Jake Thompson from Albert Lee, Minnesota. Oklahoma State University is where he plays his college baseball. Hit .342 with 4 home runs this past season, and a slider in there for a strike on the first pitch. 0-1 the count.
So Ramirez is a 3-pitch pitcher right now. Changeup, slider, 2-seam. And he's primarily going with his slider, especially early on in the count. If I were him, I don't know if I'd be so really keen on showing it early on in the count.
He goes back to the slider, and it misses outside. Even count at 1-1 strike with 2 outs and 2 aboard here against Jake Thompson, who redshirted at Kentucky last season after spending the 2018 season at a junior college, and had a very successful campaign at Oklahoma State in 2021. Swinging it from the left side, Ramirez has seen a few of them atop this order, and a slider causes a swing and a miss, trying to go to that back foot like you mentioned, Brad.
Now we can't see him from our angle. We can't see his face, but Jake Thompson looked like he took that swing with his eyes closed. Just saw the slider in the dirt, said, hopefully I get some lumber on this one, but that's how nasty his stuff is.
1-2 strikes with 2 outs. Ramirez trying to strand a pair here in the top of the first. He goes high with the fastball, but Thompson lays off. Drew 38 free passes at Oklahoma State this past season. Had 15 multi-hit games. Runners on first and second. Simpson, along with Cross, are aboard. Cross was hit by the pitch in scoring position here with 2 outs. And the 2-2 pitch. Slider, and he got him. 2 strikeouts in the inning for Ramirez, and 2 stranded as well. No score as we send it to the bottom of the first on the YD Red Sox Network. Getting ready for the bottom of the first. Brad Klein alongside Will Connerly, and Ramirez looked pretty impressive in his first inning of work. And now Barnett on the mound to face the YD Red Sox lineup. We'll run through it quickly for you. Chase Luttrell, Tanner Smith, Brooks Lee, Pascal Ferreras, Nathan Baez, Drew Compton, Hunter Haas, Peyton Graham, and Cade Hunter to round out the lineup facing Barnett. On the mound right now, the right-hander here against Chase Luttrell, who's playing right field for Scott Pickler today. That pitch missed upstairs from Barnett, the hurler out of Auburn. 2 balls and no strikes. Getting the nod today, but you, in the pregame show, mentioned hasn't had a ton of starting experience in one of the more premier conferences in the nation, the SEC.
Yeah, and to me it's surprising, right? Because you throw basically a reliever out there to start immediately, and it's very fluid. It's the first game. You're still trying to figure out your rotation. But there you go, 4-pitch walk, maybe some jitters, a really good crowd here today. And for a lot of these guys, it's the first time they've played summer baseball in 18 months, so that's a big deal.
Very nice to have summer baseball back on the Cape Cod, and of course, tonight, all the opening contests. Brewster, of course, here at Yarmouth Dennis, Wareham at Cotuit, Harwich at Orleans, and Chatham at Falmouth, Hyannis at Bourne. Of course, that's the slate for the Cape today. Of course, looking around the league as well, this is a divisional matchup as Mason Barnett fires in his first strike here against the left fielder Tanner Smith, swinging it from the left side, but the Red Sox with a runner aboard to start the bottom of the first inning. Working with Curtis Byrne, the backstop. At first is Owens. Weiss is at second, Freeland at short, Thompson at third. Sheekoffer, Davis, and Cross are patrolling the outfield behind Mason Barnett.
It's a healthy lead for Luttrell at first base, and Barnett checks him back there. Just wants to make sure every inch counts here. But after a 4-pitch walk to start the game, you're Barnett, you're thinking, okay, do I have command of the zone? And if the answer is even anything short of yes, definitively yes, then you have to make sure that you keep really good track of the runners, especially Luttrell, who runs really well.
Luttrell runs really well. Tanner Smith, he can swing the bat pretty well as well. The third-team All-American this past season, hitting .324 at Oregon from Newport Beach, California, but we'll have to battle up with 2 strikes here. Nothing into the count. The pitch, a swing and a miss, responding from the 4-pitch walk and throwing nothing but strikes and making work of Tanner Smith on the high fastball for the first out.
Classic. Go upstairs, make him chase, make him protect on 2 strikes, and Tanner Smith the victim of a great fastball upstairs.
And a lot of times when a runner gets on first base, you are ahead 0-2. A pitcher wants to come up and in to try to saw your hands off and get that ground ball double play, but well out of the reach of Tanner Smith. But here comes Brooks Lee. Seems like he's going to be one of the stars for this team if the statistics have told us anything. Brad, I know you talked about his excellence, and of course he had a ton of it this past season in college baseball.
Well, coming from Cal Poly, there's a lot to like right now about Brooks Lee, and he led his team in batting average, on-base slugging, homers, and RBIs. It's pretty good.
And that average was .342 with 10 home runs at the Division I level, has an OPS above 1,000 in 2 limited campaigns. Of course, he was injured his freshman season, then came back and just had a breakout year in his COVID freshman year this season. He was second in the nation with 27 doubles, which broke the school single-season record. Another peek over at the runner, Luttrell, at first base. Barnett trying to settle in here. So he's working against Brooks Lee, YD's shortstop, and it's a fastball missed high, 2 balls and no strikes. On deck is Pascal Ferreras.
So you'd like to think that Barnett kind of settled in there after that 4-pitch walk, but he's still pitching from the stretch, 2 balls early on.
Lee skies this one right in front of the plate, and the third baseman Thompson comes up in between the mound and home plate to retire Brooks Lee, and that brings up Pascanel Ferreras here with 2 away and 1 aboard.
Oh, Lee had a chance. That one was middle, and it looked like he got maybe a little too excited because Red Wilson Field, it's pretty small, and all the hitters got the memo, hey, if you make contact, it's going out. It's going out. So Lee might have gotten a little antsy there. Definitely got under a pitch he could have hit.
346 to left, 352 to center, and 338 to right. Expect to see a lot of big flies here this summer. A very hitter-friendly park, especially when that wind gets moving. And as I peek towards left field at that American flag above the Merrill Red Wilson Field scoreboard, it is blowing out a little bit as Pascanel Ferreras takes ball 1. Ferreras from Western Carolina, and he hammers it to the left side. Luttrell was running on the play. He tries to get into third, and he does. It's a little movement from Luttrell on the swing from Pascanel, and runners on the corners with 2 outs as Ferreras notches the first base knock for YD this season.
I'll tell you what, it's a great play by Pickler, the third base coach, and the head coach, saying, hey, let's try a hit and run on 2 outs. And that's just trust right now in your guys with only 3 practices before the season started. And Luttrell actually had the ball right in front of him as he was rounding second on his way to third. He knew exactly what he was faced against. Looked like he actually might have hesitated, saying, hey, there's no way I make it. Oh, too late now. Let me get over to third. And a poor throw from the left fielder, Schiekhofer, got him home safely.
And that's a good sign to see Luttrell, who is your leadoff hitter, have some speed atop of the lineup. You know he can get that extra 90 feet when you need it. Even if it could have potentially been the third out, he was aggressive on the play, on the swing from Ferreras, and that brings in Nathan Baez from Arizona State, from Oro Valley, Arizona, his hometown. And takes that pitch low right there. Nathan Baez playing first today for Coach Pickler, but talking with him before the game, you're going to see a lot of shuffling around. Guys are going to get a little uncomfortable. You know, you want to play the best players, and you may be in certain positions where you may not be accustomed to, because a lot of the players who come across the nation are the best players and play every day, but it's a little different here this summer as that ball's hit toward the right side, and it is Cross who is able to retire Baez, and so YD held off the scoreboard. No score after 1 here on the YD Red Sox Network.
After 1 inning of play, no score.
Luis Ramirez back out for another inning of work here in the top of the second to face Owens, Weiss, and Byrne in the lineup for the Brewster Whitecaps. And the first pitch to Owens, a strike. Owens swings it from the left side, 6'2", 210 from Southern California. Corona, California, his hometown. Hit 253 in 2021. In 2019, he was an all Pac-12 selection, but has been a staple in that USC lineup for 3 years now. A swing and a miss on the offering from Ramirez. And 0-2 is the count. He got 2 quick outs in the first, then 2 runners got aboard, but he was able to get out of the inning by going to his old reliable slider. 0-2. And he fires the pitch in there, fouled away to the left side.
You know, this low crouch from Clayton Owens, the lefty, and you very rarely see that from a first baseman. And usually, power hitting first baseman's more of an upright stance and let your legs really do the work. But here, he's got a shorter swing, so low, almost like a middle infielder.
Ramirez trying to go high above the strike zone, but Owens able to lay off on it. Owens hit 346 in the abbreviated 2020 season, hit 253 this past season, but launched 12 home runs for USC. And that slider misses low. Battling is Owens up there, the left-handed hitter, to work the count even to 2 balls and 2 strikes. Each team notched a base hit in the first. Here in the top of the second, no score. And a swing and a miss, the third strikeout registered by the right-hander Luis Ramirez, and really working that off speed, and that is his bread and butter right now, showcasing that on the mound.
No, absolutely. And right there, Ramirez is working in and out of the count exactly according to plan, like you mentioned, bread and butter. And you want to use that slider, at least from my perspective, use that slider not as your primary pitch, but as your wipeout pitch. And if you can establish the fastball as a pitch that other hitters have to respect, that slider is going to be even that much more dangerous.
Cooper Weiss, first pitch swinging. Brooks Lee throws it across the diamond, gets rid of it quickly, and there's 2 outs. We talk so much about Brooks Lee at the plate, but one of the premier defenders in the nation as well at shortstop.
Well, Lee knows what he's doing, and there's a lot of reasons that he is a premier shortstop. There's a lot of reasons that he's the shortstop on opening day, and that's one of them. Smart player, knows exactly which path to take to the ball, and that's textbook.
Gets rid of it quickly, of course, with the infielder Cooper Weiss running, and 2 quick outs for Ramirez, and quickly getting ahead of Curtis Byrne, the catcher today for Brewster. From TCU, their season ended after going 1-2 in the NCAA Regional. A St. Louis, Missouri native. Another swing and a miss. No balls and 2 strikes here with 2 outs. Ramirez looking for a quick 1-2-3 inning. He was in this same situation in the first, but a couple runners got aboard. We'll see if he can't put away Byrne with 2 strikes. And steps off and wants to think about it a little bit with his battery mate Hunter behind the plate. Ramirez nods his head, winds up and fires the pitch. It's a slider low, and Byrne was able to lay off of it. Byrne played in 5 games in the 2020 season, came from St. Louis, Missouri, Christian Brothers College High School, where he was drafted in the 35th round but opted to go to TCU, played in 16 games this past season. Rung up right there, another strikeout, 4 strikeouts through 2 clean innings of work for Luis Ramirez, and we send it to the bottom of the second on the YD Red Sox Network.
Fans in every game, you have a chance to win.
Back ready for the bottom of the second inning. Drew Compton, Hunter Haas, and Peyton Graham due up for the YD Red Sox. I'm alongside Brad Klein. I'm Will Connerly, and we're so glad we're getting settled in. The first pitch has been thrown. A couple innings have been played, and it's so beautiful to smell the grass and the whiff of the bat, the swing of the bat, and the balls coming off these wood bats as well, which is something we can get into about the adjustment of a lot of these hitters coming from their colleges and transitioning to utilize the lumber here in the Cape Cod League as Drew Compton takes the first pitch for a ball.
Yeah, I was talking to Chase Luttrell, the right fielder for Yarmouth Dennis, and he said typically for him, it takes a couple of weeks, maybe 2 weeks, to really settle into that wood bat league feel. Because like you mentioned, he's really used to the metal bat, and it's different not only in the contact, which is what people really think of, it's different in the grip and your needs, because typically with a metal bat you have something, you have maybe a piece of rubber to hold on to, and that's going to help you not only hold on to the bat but follow through the strike zone with your swing. A wood bat, it's a lot different. You're relying on that pine tar, and it's just a completely different feel.
The 2-1 pitch to Drew Compton out of Georgia Tech, and the left-handed hitter gets hit by the pitch, so Drew Compton will go take first base. He's a switch hitter out of Georgia Tech, hitting .294 during this past season, which was his COVID freshman season. And now he's going to reach first base, so the leadoff hitter gets aboard via a free pass in the first and then a hit by pitch in the second, and that brings up Hunter Haas.
Well, that's the second consecutive inning, and we're only playing like an inning and a half here, that Barnett started with a free pass. A walk in the top of the first, rather the bottom of the first, and now a hit by pitch in the bottom of the second. Yarmouth Dennis did not capitalize in the first frame, but there's really no reason that they shouldn't be able to.
Now Hunter Haas out of Arizona State. Hometown is Phoenix, Arizona. Playing third base today for Coach Pickler, and that breaking ball in there for a strike. Barnett getting on top of that breaker, and that one moves more of 12-6 on the clock rather than a slider. He really gets on top of it, and with his 6-1 frame, it broke right down into the strike zone, 0-2 the count. The 0-2 pitch to Haas, and he lays off the high fastball. Hunter Haas hit .304 in 2021. It was his true freshman season. He started 55 games for Arizona State and made the Pac-12 all-defensive team and a collegiate baseball freshman All-American. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Drew Compton, the runner at first, who is hit by the pitch. And that ball is fouled away by Hunter Haas, trying to battle here with 2 strikes against Barnett, the right-hander out of Auburn.
And so far, I think Barnett's actually done a pretty good job mixing up his pitches. You really look at the score sheet, and YD has the 1 hit that they got runners on the corners with on the hit and run, but he actually settled in really nicely after the first inning with a strikeout and a pop-out after that walk. We'll see if he can replicate that.
That pitch misses low, so with 2 strikes, Hunter Haas battles back to make it 2 balls and 2 strikes after it was 0-2. Drew Compton, the designated hitter, was hit by the pitch to lead off the bottom of the second. And Haas working here with 2 balls and 2 strikes against Barnett. We're going to take a peek over at Compton. He dives back into the first base bag and in with plenty of time to spare. Mason Barnett had 40 innings pitched at Auburn in the 2021 season, had a 5.40 ERA, 43 Ks, 21 walks, a 2-4 record with 1 save. The righty kicks, and it's a full count now. 3 balls and 2 strikes with nobody out, and Compton, the runner at first base. Pickler, he had Chase Luttrell in motion when Pascanel Ferreras was swinging. With 2 outs in the bottom of the first, you wonder when he puts the runners to the motors here with his in-game management, of course, one of the best in the league in doing that over the past 2 decades at the helm for the YD Red Sox.
Little different here. No outs, so there's a completely different situation. You're less prone to roll the dice on no outs with plenty of other opportunities to get that runner into scoring position and then across. And the other thing is Luttrell runs so much better than Compton.
Very good point there. The count is full, nobody out, and the pitch. It's going to be strike 3. The breaking ball was working for Barnett that at bat, and he went back to it with a full count to catch Hunter Haas looking. The second strikeout for Barnett. 1 away, and Peyton Graham now coming to the plate. Playing center field today, but not typically the position that he plays in his collegiate ball. He's all around the diamond, of course, but Coach Pickler saying, we threw everybody out there, wherever they were during the first few days of practice. He wanted to see where guys were able to play, and Peyton Graham, somebody you want to see in the lineup, he's able to crack it by patrolling center field. Graham from Oklahoma. Waxahachie, Texas is his hometown. 6'4", 185, hit 11 home runs for the Sooners in 2021 during his COVID freshman campaign. Can play the infield, his primary position, but in center today, and he rips it toward the right side. That's a base knock, and it looks like Compton's going to go take third, so runners at the corners, and just 1 away, the YD Red Sox in prime position to take the lead here in the bottom of the second. A runner 90 feet away and just 1 out as Cade Hunter comes to the plate.
Well, that's the difference between the CCBL and a lot of other leagues out there, is that a lot of these players know how to play the game, high baseball IQ, and everyone nowadays wants to pull. But the beauty of going Oppo Taco there is you get Drew Compton over to third base. And Compton, as I said, doesn't even run that well. A pretty good relay, and he was still comfortably safe. Great play.
Now Cade Hunter at the plate, as Mason Barnett trying to strand a couple runners, working with runners at the corners, and just 1 out to the 9th place hitter in the order, Cade Hunter. Cade Hunter out of Virginia Tech, just trying to do a job here and get a runner in, but with 1 out, you can't hit into the double play. And the pitch, a swing and a miss, as Barnett threw back-to-back breaking balls. If you're Barnett right here, you're really looking for the strikeout. Of course, the middle infield and double play depth. But, of course, a fly ball to the outfield gets the job done in terms of giving the Red Sox the lead. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. Runners at the corners. And the pitch, an outside fastball that's painted on the black for strike number 2 to the left-handed hitting Cade Hunter.
Well, the other thing is the hitters can't have it both ways. A very short porch here at Red Wilson Field. That's good for the home runs, bad for the sac flies. So you're really going to have to hit it pretty deep to get Drew Compton across.
Very good point there. 1 ball and 2 strikes, and it's low, and a big-time stolen base right there by Peyton Graham. That takes the double play out of effect, and now a ground ball to the right side could bring home the runner at third base 90 feet away, Drew Compton, as Graham moves up to second with a stolen base. Ball was low, but Graham, a nice job utilizing that delayed steal to take that second bag. Now 2 runners in scoring position. The 2-2 pitch. Low and in. The count runs full. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 1 away with 2 runners in scoring position here for Cade Hunter.
And the corners on that last pitch, they were pinched in on the grass a little bit. They take a couple of steps back now. So a ground ball pretty much anywhere should get the run across.
The 3-2 pitch. Ground ball toward the right side. That's going to be a run. The job is done. Graham steals the bag, takes the double play out of effect. Hunter does the job by grounding it to the right side, and Compton comes across. The Red Sox up 1-0 here in the bottom of the second.
That's situational hitting right there. And even like I said, even though the corners are pinched out a little bit, you still want to hit it up the middle. That way, there's no doubt that even Compton can get across there. And YD playing small ball.
Peyton Graham doing a great job right there because, Brad, if you say Peyton Graham is still on first base in that situation, that could have been a double play and not allowed the run to score. That's hit to the right side. Barnett comes over to cover, receives it from Owens, and the inning is over, but not before the Red Sox scratch across a run. 1-0 they lead after 2. Brad Klein will tell you about the middle innings, but this break first brought to you by Curry College. It's where you go to become anything you want. Curry prepares students to engage in successful careers with learning beyond the classroom. Explore undergraduate programs, NCAA Division III athletics, and continuing education and graduate studies, including fifth-year master programs at www.curry.edu. We send it to the middle innings here on the YD Red Sox Network.
Top of the third we go. Yarmouth Dennis leads Brewster 1-0 here on opening day of the long-awaited 2021 campaign in the CCBL. Alongside Will Connerly, I'm Brad Klein. Ramirez got through the first 2 frames with 8 hitters under his belt and a really late timeout called by David Perry, the home plate umpire new to the CCBL this year. And Ramirez was mid-kick by the time Perry called it off. It looked like Perry was signaling to the PA announcer maybe to, hey, quiet down and let Ramirez do his thing, but Ramirez had no problem with it.
Yeah, it was interesting. Whenever you're mid-motion as a pitcher and then you get stopped up right there, that's always a tough thing to do because it's hard to stop your momentum when you're able to go.
And Perry misses outside on that fastball. And here we go, or excuse me, Ramirez does. Perry is now talking upstairs and making sure, hey, we get some quiet mid-pitch. But this is an interesting dynamic. Hey, opening day, everyone's trying to work out those kinks.
No doubt about it. That you haven't had this opportunity, no season last year. You're ironing out some of those things, throwing a lot of things on the wall, seeing what's going to stick as well, but just something that they ironed out right there. Mid-pitch for Ramirez, interesting situation.
And the fastball misses wide. 2 balls and no strikes to Alex Freeland, the shortstop from UCF. 2021, I should say, hit 288 and 5 home runs for the Golden Knights and fouls that one down the left field line out of play. Ramirez already with 4 strikeouts, and it really comes from that slider. Had 2 in each frame. But going to the fastball early on in the count to Freeland. And the 2-1 is golfed over to the dugout, 2-2.
Luis Ramirez this season, he had 5 1/3. His most recent outing was on May 29th of this year. 5 1/3 against UC Davis, 8 hits, 4 runs, just 1 earned, 3 walks and 2 strikeouts. That's the most recent work for Ramirez.
Freeland watches the slider just low, shin high. And Ramirez wanted that one badly, steps off the mound to regain himself. And the count is full.
But Ramirez has the ability to go deep in games, of course, because his great stuff. He pitched 7+ innings 3 different times.
The Cal Poly righty deals, and it's just fouled off. Got a piece of it to the backstop. And we'll do it again.
And Freeland, somebody who's a switch hitter, had nearly 30 runs driven in and 37 runs scored this year for Central Florida.
Payoff pitch to Freeland is way wide. The fastball, he just lost it. And Freeland, a spectator, tosses his gear and takes the free pass.
Now batting for Brewster.
A leadoff walk for Alex Freeland, and the top of the order comes on. Colin Davis, the center fielder who grounded out to third his first time up. So now we get to see how Ramirez reacts to a free pass to start an inning, something that we saw Barnett struggle with in the first two frames.
Not only that, but we'll also get to see how he will approach this lineup now the second time through.
And Davis shows bunt, a beauty. Ramirez barehands it, fires over to first in time to get the speedy Davis, and Baez squeezes it for out number one, but on to second is Freeland.
We heard about how he was a tremendous athlete. He hops off the mound, making a great play. As a pitcher right there, it's kind of in no man's land. The bunt, of course, could have been for a hit with the speedy Colin Davis atop the order, but Ramirez makes a great play. He had to make a great play to get the out and get it out that he needed with the runner getting on base to start the inning.
So that puts Alex Freeland on second base, had 38 swipes for the Golden Knights in 2021. And Schieckhofer, the right fielder, make that left fielder, swings through the slider for strike one. Struck out looking his first time up. Schieckhofer hit .316 for Rutgers in this past year. Only had one home run. That's something that, coming out of high school, a lot of people thought he would really be a power hitter in the Big Ten, and a wicked slider on the black for strike two.
He deployed that slider a ton the first time through the order, and it looks like this is the same recipe the second time through. You wonder if the hitters are going to make an adjustment. They weren't really able to square up his breaking ball the first time through this Whitecaps order.
No balls and two strikes, one out. Freeland dancing off second. And Ramirez deals fastball sails high for ball one.
And Brad, that's the tough thing right there is if you do go start to sit on the slider, you have no chance at catching up to 93 plus.
But like I mentioned before, Ramirez has really been using the slider as his primary pitch rather than his wipeout pitch. As a former pitcher yourself, what do you think of that move?
I think it's a great move if you can command that slider, and it's almost two different sliders.
And a hit by pitch right there on that front door slider, something that we already saw. That came in the first inning, and it's basically deja vu as Schieckhofer gets bailed out of a two-strike count.
And he's hit two batters on that slider today. If you go back to 2021 season, he had 14 hit by pitches, 9 wild pitches, and you would think a lot of those are coming on that slider. He's trying to wipe it out. And Brad, you mentioned he's deploying that slider, but it's almost two different sliders. One's that get me over earlier in the count, and the other's that hammer that he wants to wipe out. But he's been able to get the strikes with that slider when he needs it earlier in the count. But a couple of hit by pitches today. We'll see if he can't work out of a jam now with a couple runners aboard.
Something that plagued him at Long Beach State, had 14 hit batsmen last season. Now, bottom line, though, that might be a blessing in disguise for YD because Freeland got a great jump from second over to third, and there was no chance Cade Hunter would catch him trying to steal third base. But the hit by pitch keeps him at second. Runners on first and second with one out for the lefty Gavin Cross, who was hit by a front door slider in that first inning. And Cross watches that slider slice the zone for strike one.
And that's really the scouting report on Ramirez. He's going to front door lefties a ton, and that's why it's really hard to hit. When you throw as a right-handed pitcher just toward the back foot of a left-handed hitter, it's almost impossible to hit if you perfectly place that at the back foot. Now, if you lay off, it might hit you, but sometimes you'll see guys swing at a nasty slider and it actually hits them or comes close to it just because of the perception of, okay, I didn't know if that was going to be a high fastball or it was going to break down to my shoes. So it's really hard to pick that up because of that deception, which is why you see the strikeout number very high.
Schiekofer on first, Freeland on second, one away. Ramirez checking back Freeland, the 0-1, slider on the black on the outside corner, 0-2.
And Brad, about Ramirez, one thing that can mess with a pitcher's control is when you change your arm slot. And over this past year, Ramirez had a plethora of arm slot changes according to the scouting report. So now he's low three-quarter arm action, and it's hard to adjust to that when you've thrown one way your whole life and you change your mechanics. It takes some time to adjust to it.
But especially with a pitch like a slider, you can only imagine what that did for his break. And the 0-2 fastball just misses. And now go to 1-2 as Gavin Cross lives to see another one.
And a high percentage of the time, if you're a three-quarter guy, a low three-quarter guy, you're going to be a slider guy. It's hard to get on top of curveballs from that arm slot, and that's what Ramirez dropped down to, and it looks like that bodes well for his ceiling for sure with a three-quarter slot.
A ball and 2 strikes, one away, and Cross watches the slider go for strike 3. Slider, fastball that missed, and another slider, and that is the hammer that you were talking about.
His 5th strikeout, he gets another one looking. 4 of the 5 have just froze the hitters for the Whitecaps, and they've been the sliders that just look like that start way out of the zone. And, okay, is this going to be a fastball for a ball because it's kind of firm, and then it bends back into the strike zone at the last minute, freezing these Whitecaps hitters, and he needed that with 2 runners on.
Will Simpson, first pitch watching, fastball inside for ball 1. So a much-needed strikeout there for Luis Ramirez, the Long Beach State righty, on Gavin Cross. The only thing better would have been a ground ball up the middle. A ball and no strikes with 2 gone for Will Simpson, who singled to center his first time up, and he flies that one out down the right field line and out of play.
And Simpson, he saw Ramirez just for a pitch, and he was first pitch swinging and was able to get the base knock, but he's the only Whitecap to get a hit off Ramirez here today. In a situation with runners in scoring position, it's where you want to bear down. Ramirez trying to avenge that hit he led up to the designated hitter in the first and come get him in the third.
And Simpson pokes that one to second. Diving grab, no. Farron could not get the play, and sliding in home is Alex Freeland from second. And we'll see what they mark it, but either way, Brewster strikes back, and we're tied at 1 apiece. Well, Ferreras, the second baseman, almost made an incredible grab leaping up, but it popped out of his mitt, and now runners are on the corners with 2 gone.
That's now 2 base knocks for Simpson. He has the only 2 hits and now a run driven in. Checking with the official score, it is ruled as a hit, Brad, hitting it toward the right side. So the only 2 hits off Ramirez have come from the cleanup hitter Simpson.
So Freeland comes around to score. It's Schiekofer on third. And Will Simpson on first, still with 2 outs. And like I mentioned, Ferreras almost got it, but that was a tough play for him. Hit pretty much right at him, so it was a tough read.
In-betweener, sun coming down at this time as well. He backs up toward the outfield, and it didn't look like it was hit awfully hard. It was camped under it and in between that zone. And it's hard to get a read on those balls because typically if it's hit towards right at the second baseman, right at you, and you don't have to move, it's hit more on the screws. But that one wasn't hit so hard on the screws, and he had to go back a few steps, was caught in a very tough position, and it's an RBI hit for Simpson.
Count even at 1-1 with 2 outs. Ramirez from the stretch, and the fastball is poked back into the dirt. Strike 2 on the foul ball to Jake Thompson, the third baseman, who struck out looking his first time up. And you have to wonder, going back to Ferreras at second, what the sun might have had to do also with that tweener.
It definitely could have played a factor there. These 5 o'clock games, Red Wilson Field with no lights, so all the home games starting at 5 o'clock, different than other home venues around the Cape Cod League, but Red Wilson Field, one of the fields that does not have lights.
Now a ball and 2 strikes to Thompson. Ramirez at the belt, tips his cap and deals. That one dribbled foul down the first base line, fielded cleanly by Baez, but we'll do it again.
But the Whitecaps, you give them credit, leadoff walk, and they're able to move a runner over and get a runner in with a hit. You know, the bunt worked as a sacrifice, and the Whitecaps are able to answer back right after the Red Sox took the lead in the bottom of the second.
And the 1-2 is off his shin. And again, a hit batsman. This time it's Jake Thompson taking a free pass over to first, and the bases are juiced for Clayton Owens.
5 strikeouts, 3 hit by pitches for the right-hander Ramirez. He's going to see premier talent here this summer, working against the lineups across the league and, of course, trying to refine his abilities and work with the new arm slots that he's been afforded. And the key thing for him is going to be developing a solid four-seam fastball. That slider is already elite.
So 2 outs now to the crouching Owens, who struck out swinging his first time up, the only frontwards K on the score sheet for Luis Ramirez. Schieckhofer on third, Simpson on second, Thompson on first. That one chopped over to first. Baez smothers it. Can he make the play? Flips over to first, and Ramirez covering. The ball goes out of play. Ramirez couldn't catch up to it. 2 runs will come home as Schieckhofer and Simpson were running on contact. No, make it 3 runs. Right behind him is Jake Thompson, and a 3-run error for Luis Baez. And a disaster. What looked like the third out became 3 runs for Brewster.
Yeah, on that play, as that warrants a mound visit, on that play, you look at the situation. It's hit toward the right side, Brad, and Thompson was able to score from first base on the misplay over on the right side. And looking at the scoreboard, they haven't put an error up on that scoreboard in left center field. But now they eventually do. That 3-run error, as you mentioned, Brad, definitely hurts right there. You know, tough to swallow because of the fact that you had the opportunity to get out of that inning with the lead with 2 outs, and the Whitecaps do a nice job of getting back in action in the mound visit. Of course, a little stirring, stretching bands over in the YD bullpen as well.
So now they're actually going to take a run off the board. And that was the conversation. Jake Thompson, who started that play on first base, goes back to third. It was actually a 2-base error, if you can even fathom that. So right now it's actually runners on second and third. We're back down to 3-1 now. The umpires conversing, and they discussed that ultimately Thompson was not close enough for the ball to go out of play to warrant that being an extra 90 feet for him. So it's actually 3-1 in favor of Brewster. 2 gone in the top of the third inning. And Cooper Weiss, the second baseman who grounded out to short his first time up, has a chance to balloon the lead.
Yeah, interesting play there. When the ball goes out of play, you only get to go afforded 2 bases. He started at first.
That one skied out to deep center field. Graham chasing back, but he's under it to make the catch for the final out of the inning. But 4 runs after a 3-run error, actually 2-run error. And Brewster takes, well, it's still a discrepancy now. 3 runs for Brewster is the final verdict. 3 runs, 2 hits for the Whitecaps. And in the middle of the third, it's the Whitecaps 3 and the Red Sox 1 right here on the Red Sox Baseball Network. Welcome back to YD Red Sox baseball here in the bottom of the third. Alongside Will Connerly, I'm Brad Klein. Wasn't a good inning for YD, and maybe some growing pains on opening day, but ultimately defense matters, and Luis Ramirez is the victim of a couple of unearned runs there. An interesting play, tweener to Nathan Baez, the first baseman, fielded it himself, stretching off the bag. Ramirez covering first, but a low flip trickled out of play, and that yielded 2 runs.
It did, and that's always tough when an unearned run comes across and a play that could have been made. And also when you look at Ferreras at second base, that was ruled a hit, but that was also another kind of tweener play that was a hit that started off that inning, but the leadoff walk comes around to score, and 2 more come across. YD now trailing by 2.
Tanner Smith chases the low fastball for strike 2. One ball and 2 strikes with no one out in the bottom of the third. Barnett from the windup and a nubber to the left side down the third base line, and Barnett fields it cleanly himself, 1 away.
Yeah, and Barnett had to come to the third base line to catch that pop-up. And whenever hitters hit it in that location, you know that the pitcher dominated that at bat. They were able to get you in a situation where you weren't able to square it up.
So 1 gone, and now it goes to Brooks Lee, the shortstop, who popped up to third his first time up. Fastball misses letter high for ball 1. So a big inning for Mason Barnett here, called a shutdown inning if he can get through. Grounded foul out of play down the right field line. Well, we mentioned Brooks Lee as a guy to really look out for all season long. Shortstop, and he says actually he's still playing shortstop because of an injury, believe it or not. He actually suffered a pretty tough injury, one that's very rare, as he was running, player from Cal Poly, he was running out of the box trying to muscle out a ground ball. And what happened was essentially threw out his leg. Apparently there was one of 50 cases in the past decade or so, according to his doctor. His LCL and his biceps femoris hamstring muscle were both completely snapped, and they broke off a piece of his fibular head as well. So it was a gruesome injury as he grounds that one into right field for a base hit with 1 away. The outstretched Weiss was just a day late and a dollar short, and Brooks Lee is aboard with a one-out single.
And when you talk about Brooks Lee and that injury, it was suffered during preseason practice in October when the fall seasons are starting to end up, and this is prior to his freshman year, and so really wasn't able to have that freshman year. A huge recruit for the school, was drafted out of high school, but had to wait. The fans had to wait a little bit, but he produced at a very high level. But very interesting story about that unique injury that he had. He was caused to miss weeks worth of games during his shortened freshman year.
And during that recovery process, missing some time on the field, he dropped 10 pounds. And he says that's actually why he's playing shortstop still. The fact that he was able to drop the 10 pounds and mobility was no longer an issue playing shortstop. That's why he's a shortstop. He's a shortstop for Cal Poly, and like you mentioned, he'll move around a little bit. Scott Pickler likes to get his guys well-versed defensively as the curveball just bends on the black for strike two.
And he puts together good at-bats. You saw that when you look at his stats at Cal Poly, just 34 strikeouts and 222 at-bats, and a big reason why he wasn't just National Co-Freshman of the Year, but someone who's you can look out for Golden Spike semifinalist.
Pascanel Ferreras at the dish, and he golfs that one down the third baseline, foul. Correction, that last pitch before that one was just outside, so now the count is 1-2 with one away.
And Ferreras, he had a great swing last time up, had 16 home runs at Western Carolina this past year, hitting .329. He's a really good hitter.
One of three hits for YD, but he swings through the fastball upstairs for strike three. So two gone now in the bottom of the third inning. That brings up Nathan Baez, the first baseman.
Now batting for Yarmouth Dennis, number 12, the first baseman, Nathan Baez.
Baez flew out to right his first time up. And like we mentioned, he was right in the middle of what is so far the biggest play of the game. And if you told me right now you have a crystal ball and that is the turning point of the game, I'd believe you. Ground ball at first, trying to stretch off the bag and get Ramirez to cover first, but a low flip cost YD 2 runs. That one is laced down the third base line, just foul.
Coach Pickler had to get out of the way a little bit. Sure, he's seen a ton of balls come his way in his 23rd year now at the helm for the YD Red Sox.
Oh, he's nimble. He's nimble.
No doubt about it.
So no balls and a strike to Baez. And Barnett deals two-seamer just off.
You mentioned Barnett did have that experience where he did throw 7 shutout innings against Little Rock in the 2020 campaign. So maybe they try to stretch him out. Maybe the Auburn coaching staff wants him to get experience being a starter heading into the next campaign for that squad.
Pitch misses away. 2 balls and a strike now to Baez. Brooks Lee runs very well off of first base, but for his speed, taking a pretty modest lead. Barnett deals, and Baez swings and pops that one up to deep left field. Chasing back is Sheekoffer on the warning track. He leaps up, and he makes the catch! Richie Sheekoffer robs Baez of extra bases for the final out of the inning. What a play by the left fielder. And that retires the side while Baez gave it a ride. And some shallow corners here at Red Wilson Field. Looked like he got under it, but there's really no such thing here in Yarmouth Dennis.
No doubt. Wow, that's impressive play to end the inning right there.
So the end of 3, it's Brewster 3 and YD 1. This break brought to you by Curry College. Curry College is where you go to become anything you want. Curry prepares students to engage in successful careers with learning beyond the classroom. Explore undergraduate programs including new majors in sport and recreation management, graphic design, marketing, and computer science online at www.curry.edu.
On behalf of the Brewster Whitecaps, the Yarmouth Dennis Red Sox, league officials,
Back here on the YD Red Sox Network, here on YouTube, streaming live for you. Brad Klein with Will Connerly. Top of the fourth inning, Brewster leads YD 3-1. And Luis Ramirez back on the bump after a rocky third. Fastball swung through, and it was Curtis Byrne, the catcher, who just couldn't catch up to it.
Ramirez also can feature a very good changeup as well. Haven't seen a ton of that today, but we've heard that changeup also plays at a high level as well.
Number foul, 0-2. Well, Ramirez has actually been ahead of the count, it seems like a lot at this point. He mentioned before that he can use the slider as the hammer, but ahead of the count here at 0-2 on Curtis Byrne, who struck out looking his first time up. And Byrne waves at the fastball, foul tipped right into the mitt of Cade Hunter, his second strikeout of the day and one away here in the top of the fourth. So Ramirez, like we said, after a rocky third, makes quick work of Curtis Byrne. That can only be a good sign for Scott Pickler.
6 strikeouts, 3 hit by pitches, but the one error is that where that crooked number comes from in the top of the third, where 2 runs came across, and that's the difference right now. YD trailing by a couple.
And that one skied out down the left field line. On comes Smith to make the catch for out number 2. First pitch swinging for Alex Freeland.
Now batting for Brewster, the shortstop. Number 24, Alex Freeland from Coastal Florida.
So 2 gone here in the top of the fourth inning. And Colin Davis will try to keep up. He bunted over a runner his last time up. It was a great bunt and maybe even a better play by Ramirez to barehanded and make the play in time, as that one changeup misses inside. Dodgeball Davis for ball 1.
It was a great play, and it allowed Freeland to advance, which was the biggest portion of that inning, and that was one of the 3 runs that came across.
Changeup again for strike 2. So no balls and 2 strikes with 2 gone. No one on base. Ramirez has been as sharp as ever. And the fastball 2-seamer dances off the plate. So we'll do it again. So first 3 pitches of this at-bat to Davis. He hasn't gone to the slider yet. Against the righty as well. Fastball misses outside and low, actually for ball 3. So David Perry, the home plate umpire, deking me out a little bit on some of these strike calls. But either way, 3 balls and a strike. That one chopped over to third, fielded on a hop. No, it's popped up in the air by Haas, and he just catches it midair. That's an E5 in the book, so it should have been the 3rd out of the inning. And looming again, Hunter Haas just could not complete the play on 2 outs.
And they put an H up on the scoreboard. Think they might be calling that one a hit.
I'll have to check with the hometown scorer, the official scorer that is. But either way, Colin Davis is on board with 2 outs. Richie Schiekofer, the left fielder, who made a great catch as the runner goes. Hunter's throw, a bouncer, not in time.
Great throw there by Hunter, but even quicker speed atop the order. Colin Davis, you saw him almost beat out that bunt back in the 3rd where the Whitecaps were able to take the lead, and then the next inning he showcases his speed with a stolen base and now in scoring position with 2 outs.
Inherited RBI situation for Schiekofer, who was hit by a pitch and scored a run his last time up. And the slider just low for ball one. So there it is. We haven't really seen much of the slider for whatever reason in the fourth inning. Any reason that you can think of that Ramirez might have abandoned it, especially early on in counts?
Well, he's hit 3 batters with the slider, and I think one reason is the lefties is what he loves to throw the sliders to, because it plays with so much break. And, yeah, he can sometimes hit the lefties, but he wants to see other pitches in his arsenal working through the lineup a couple of times, and he's seen that the hitters started to spit on sliders that they were swinging through earlier in the game. And that third inning, when the teams get a couple runs, even if it was on an error, that can mess with a pitcher's head.
And like I alluded to, you want to call it an error or a hit, but a play that many would argue should have been made keeps the inning alive, much like that last inning. Now Hunter Haas gets another try, backhanded, and the throw across the diamond, perfect strike to beat the runner Schieckhofer. So Hunter Haas makes up for the mistake, if you want to call it that. We'll talk to the scorer in a second, but either way, Brewster strands a runner, and Luis Ramirez works in and out of trouble in the top of the fourth inning. Brewster 3, YD 1. Middle of the fourth we go right here on the YD Red Sox Network. Back here on the YD Red Sox Network, bottom of the fourth, Brewster 3, YD 1. Alongside Will Connerly, I'm Brad Klein. So, by the way, if you're scoring at home, that ground ball over to third, off the bat of Colin Davis in the last frame, that was actually ruled a hit. And for Luis Ramirez, credit him for working what should have been probably an easy 1-2-3 inning, got a runner in scoring position, no fault of his own, and worked out of trouble.
He did a great job in that situation, and it was a hit that was a play that Haas definitely could have made, but he followed it up with a great strike across the diamond. Very strong arm on that 5-3 to end last half inning as well, but great credit for Ramirez. He's looking good with the strikeout numbers, has 3 hit by pitches and 6 strikeouts. The opening day starter for the Red Sox, although trailing by 2 runs. We'll see if the offense can't get it going here in the bottom of the fourth.
Only 3 strikeouts for Mason Barnett, but only 1 hit allowed, and the breaking ball slices the zone. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Drew Compton, who was hit by a pitch and ended up scoring a run in the second inning. Drew Compton, the Jersey boy from Wake Forest, switch hitter. And the righty deals off his oblique. Again, Compton is nailed. This time to lead off the inning, identical to the second.
Yeah, same exact situation. Compton able to get on base in the 2021 season. He was hit by 4 pitches, but he has half of that just in halfway through the first game of the season here in the Cape Cod League.
So here's Hunter Haas, the third baseman who struck out looking his first time up. Mason Barnett, by the way, has now allowed the leadoff runner to reach base in 3 of his 4 innings of work, 3+, if you want to be technical. Fastball sails over the head of Haas for ball 1. So Hunter Haas from Arizona State. 2021 was a true freshman, but hit .304 in 55 games played, 55 started, really a staple as a corner infielder. Two-seamer low and inside for ball 2.
And it was a rarity what we saw last inning for him. He was a Pac-12 all-defensive team, freshman All-American, one of the better gloves you'll see, and he followed it up with a great play on that 5-3, as we mentioned.
Upstairs for ball 3. So the last time we saw Barnett work into a 3-0 hole was actually the first batter of the game to chase Luttrell, which ended up being a walk. And no outs for Barnett. From the stretch, fastball in there for strike 1. Infield at double play depth, but Haas runs very well. Going to be tough to turn 2 on him. The wind has died down big time at Red Wilson Field. Flag in left field is almost stagnant, and the fastball again down the pipe for strike 2. So from 3-0 to 3-2, and Hunter Haas looked like he thought it was ball 4.
He did. He was starting to walk toward first base, but that ball did notch the strike zone in time to battle up. An opportunity getting the leadoff hitter on for YD to make some noise here.
Compton does not run extremely well off of first. Unlikely that he goes. Payoff pitch to Haas is grounded sharply up the middle, fielded cleanly by Lee. Over to second, and the force to Compton in time. So a great play, actually by Freeland, over to Weiss for a 6-4 putout. 1 away.
And so Haas still on base, reaching on that fielder's choice, but toward the bottom of this order, you see if the Red Sox can't get a couple of runners on base to flip it back over to the top of the order with some runners on, they'd have a chance to do some damage here in the bottom of the 4th.
Here's Peyton Graham, the center fielder, as Haas is checked back at first by Barnett. Graham singled to right in the second inning, but was stranded at third.
Had that big stolen base, though, which set up the first run for the Red Sox.
And Graham swings through the changeup for strike 1. Like you mentioned, the 5 o'clock hour at Red Wilson Field is pretty tough, especially for outfielders. The sun is not setting. It's still plenty bright here on Cape Cod, but you're starting to get some shadows, and they're trickling in down the third base line especially. And Haas dives back safely again on the check back.
And speaking of trickling in, all across the perimeter of the fence you see fans set up with chairs, and they've trickled in as the game has progressed as well.
Graham watches that one down the pipe again, 0-2. And they're dispersed pretty, I'm not going to say evenly, because definitely concentrated down the first and third base lines, but you got pretty much every inch covered in the outfield too.
All across the chain-linked fence in the outfield, and of course the sides where people bring their own chairs and set up. It's a great sign to see here at Red Wilson Field.
The 0-2 to Graham, swung on and missed. The changeup got him. Peyton Graham was expecting the heater. And 3 pitches later, Graham with a slow walk back to the dugout, 2 away on the strikeout.
It's been impressive to see Barnett. Whenever he gets in trouble, he goes and gets on top of curveballs. That 12-6 action that he has on that breaking ball, coming from a bigger righty, is really tough for right-handed hitters to pick up because it's coming out right out top where the fastball comes, and it looks like it's going to hit a lot of right-handed hitters, then it drops in the zone.
Cade Hunter, the catcher from Virginia Tech, takes the fastball on the outside corner for strike 1. Barnett gets the sign from Byrne, comes set at the belt. Haas with a healthy lead off of first. Not going. And that one is driven deep to right field. Cross going back, and he squeezes it for the final out of the inning. Now Cross had to take an extra half second to make sure he had a good read on it, especially with that sun blaring into right field. But a good ride delivered by Cade Hunter for the final out of the frame. At the end of 4, it's Brewster 3 and YD 1 right here on the YD Red Sox Network.
Our youth baseball clinics, where boys and girls ages 5 and up can learn the game of baseball and the importance of sportsmanship.
Back here from Red Wilson Field, Brad Glenn and Will Connerly with you for the top of the 5th inning between Brewster and YD. It's 3-1 in favor of the Whitecaps. 3 consecutive zeros on that scoreboard ever since Brewster put up a 3-spot in the top of the 3rd inning on a messy defensive play between Nate Baez and Luis Ramirez, who is back out for a 5th inning of work. He looked really good in the 4th.
He really did. He bounced back, and that's what he had to do. He has 6 strikeouts right now, worked around some defensive miscues. You mentioned the sun. It probably has played into a factor in multiple plays that have happened here at Red Wilson Field.
Gavin Cross, the right fielder, is the first man up in the top of the 5th inning. Count even at 1-1 now as the slider missed outside. And Cross bounces that one up the middle. A little bit of a shift, and Lee is there. Flips it over to first in time. 1 away. So Cross now 0 for 2. But Will Simpson is 2 for 2, and the DH has a crack at it with 1 out, no one on. Simpson, the freshman from Washington, takes strike 1. A big step up for him this past season. Hit .310 in 45 games played. By the way, as a COVID freshman, in his true freshman season, he hit .174. So if you want to blame it on the freshman 15 or on the pandemic, either way, it works.
It definitely does. And being able to see the stories of a lot of these players coming across the nation, they all have different backgrounds, and it's so nice to be able to see those stories, tell those stories as well.
Grounded sharply over to third for a diving Thompson. Make that Haas. He can't get there. It trickles into left field, and Simpson is aboard with 1 out. So he's now 3 for 3 with 3 singles.
And if you look at the out distribution for Ramirez, 6 strikeouts, 5 groundouts, and 2 flyouts. A lot of the balls from these hitters are coming on the ground because he has the arm side run on the fastball. The slider breaks incredibly late, which can bite off the hands of the hitters. And then also that changeup that he plays low, sometimes to right-handed hitters, gets in on the hands, and that's when guys get sawed off. He typically keeps the ball on the ground. A lot of his outs, except two, account with the strikeout or the ground out today.
By the way, Jacob Metter warming up in the bullpen for YD from TCU. Now Ramirez still going strong. Velocity doesn't look like an issue for him. Jake Thompson at the dish, 0 for 1 with a strikeout and a hit by pitch, which is really, you look at the out distribution, but you look at the entire score sheet, take a step back. That's really been the biggest issue for Ramirez. That one is sliced down the left field line and into foul ground, but Smith couldn't squeeze it. A lot of oohs and ahs from the crowd because that probably should have been out number 2, and more importantly, could have been a fair ball because it bounced Corral off his glove and nearly into fair territory, but it landed just foul.
And luckily he was in foul territory when it first initially hit the leather, then dropping to the grass. But you're right, it was close on that play, and if that lands in fair territory, that's extra bases. Of course, with the runners motoring around the base paths, could have been a run scored for all we know.
So 1 ball and 2 strikes. Thompson takes the slider outside. Count even now at 2-2 with 1 away. You have to wonder again for the sure-handed Smith how much of that was the sun, because the sun is really not giving up an inch in the outfield. It's really a problem all over. The shade comes down the third base line like we said, and then a little bit behind the plate. 2-2 is golf down the right field line, just foul.
And could the official score have taken your advice, Brad? There's now 2 errors on the scoreboard for the Red Sox.
It's never too late.
It never really is. You can input the game. It could be later. I believe, though, that probably would have been a correction.
Potentially. I'm going to have to ask him.
Unless they called that last play, but that was a diving Hunter Haas when you talk about, or the play in left, but it was in foul territory.
That can't be an error. That one grounded slowly over to Ferreras. Gathers, and a bouncer over to first, not in time.
But a great scoop nonetheless right there, although not being in time.
So gets the force over to second. Lee with the tardy throw over. And now 2 outs with a man on first for Clayton Owens. Thompson on first. Owens is 0 for 1. Reached base on an error by Baez. That was the 2-run error that we were talking a lot about. Maybe a turning point of this game as well.
It has been so far.
The 0-1 slider in there for strike 2. And there's that slider if you have a good angle at home, which you do thanks to the broadcast, but that's looking like a wiffle ball right now. And the slider really hasn't abandoned Ramirez, but it seems like he has abandoned that slider, the usage, way down in the later innings.
It has been the second and third time through the order, not using it as much. He was really favoring it early on in the first couple innings, 2 clean innings with 4 strikeouts, and you wondered, was he continuing to fire that, or was he going to mix up the arsenal? And he mixed it up ever since the Whitecaps got 3 runs in the top of the third. But still has it whenever he wants and flips it in there with ease. It's pretty cool to watch.
Clayton Owens, a ball and 2 strikes, and he avoids that fastball low and inside, 2-2. So, by the way, on top of Jacob Metter, for YD warming up, Zach Franklin, the junior from Western Carolina, is also getting ready. So this is likely his last inning for Ramirez. Grounded slowly to Ferreras, gathers and flips over to first in time for the final out of the inning. Well, Brewster cannot tack on any insurance as Luis Ramirez takes a slow walk back over to the dugout, probably for the final time today. 5 innings of 3-run ball for the Long Beach righty. Well, at the end, rather in the middle of the 5th, Brewster 3, YD 1. You're watching on the YD Red Sox Network.
By proudly wearing any of our assortment of hats, t-shirts,
Back here on the YD Red Sox Network for the bottom of the 5th between Brewster and YD, and Mason Barnett's night is done. Had a good one. 4 innings, 3 hits, 1 run. It was earned with 4 strikeouts. Mason Barnett from Auburn. The first start of the year for Brewster, and on to relieve him is Hunter Patterson, the freshman from UCF. Chase Luttrell 0 for 1 with a walk. Leads off the bottom half of the 5th inning. And the lefty Patterson deals fastball, nicks the end of the zone for strike 1.
6'5", 200. Had 55 and 2/3 innings pitched at Central Florida this past year. 65 strikeouts in 55 innings.
A ball and 2 strikes now to Luttrell. And imagine Patterson was brought in largely because of Luttrell, lefty-lefty matchup, but YD has some righties on the horizon. Fastball misses just inside, count even at 2-2. And Luttrell bounces that one slowly over to Weiss, fields it on a hop, and flips it over to first in time, 1 away.
It's always nice. You come out of the bullpen and you can get that first guy out, and that's what Patterson got right there. He was able to get comfortable, be able to get the out, and have more of that confidence. He is facing some lefties at the top of this order, what you mentioned, and he has some really good stuff. I mean, he had 2 bad outings at Central Florida, where that's where he gave up most of his earned runs. He gave up 6 earned runs in one outing and 10 earned runs in another. So that really blew up his ERA. But other than that, he was nails for Central Florida.
Tanner Smith, the lefty. Check swing foul. So this is the consequence of stacking lefties in the lineup. And the left fielder, Smith, is 0 for 2. Struck out swinging in the first inning on a four-seam fastball upstairs by Barnett, which was just one of his best pitches. And observes that four-seamer outside, count even at 2-2 now. The switch hitter, Brooks Lee is on deck. And the 1-2 dribbled over to first. A wacky hop for Owens. He fields it cleanly, flips it to Pattison, races to the bag in time. 2 gone. Textbook 3-1 putout, and Pattison had to really hustle because Smith runs well down the first base line.
He really does. And now when you see Brooks Lee flip over to hit right-handed, doesn't hit as well against left-handed pitchers. He really is much more dominant against the righties. So putting in the southpaw at the top of the order, a solid move for Brewster.
Fastball on the inside corner for strike one. Lee says the biggest challenge of hitting switch is finding left-handed pitchers. Even at Cal Poly, they're really hard to come by, and so right-handed hitting is almost Greek to him, but not Greek there. That one lined into center field easy. Single with 2 gone for Brooks Lee.
Brooks Lee hit .365 against righties with 7 home runs, hit .239 against lefties in 46 at-bats. 11 of his 76 hits came against lefties. But, of course, it did not look foreign there. A great piece of hitting, driving it right up the middle for a base knock here with 2 outs, and you'll see if YD now can't get some 2-out magic going. Pascal Ferreras, he swung the bat well today.
Freshman All-American watches the breaking ball for strike one from Western Carolina. Now, you wouldn't know it by looking at him, just 5'10", 175, but he had 16 home runs in his freshman season 2021 this past year. Lefty deals, and Ferreras waves at it for strike 2.
A really wicked changeup right there that just dropped off the table. But Ferreras, he has some big-time pop. Excited to see the way he's able to swing the bat this summer.
Ferreras watches the fastball just low. Tough take with 2 strikes, 1 and 2. Well, Ferreras started all 49 games at shortstop for Western Carolina. Got the nod at second today and almost made what would have been a fantastic grab, as that one is poked to deep right center field. Cross going back, he retreats and makes the catch for the final out of the inning. Well, Ferreras gave it a ride off the end of the bat and packs a lot of power into that 5'10" frame. Either way, YD strands another runner, and at the end of 5, the Red Sox still trail by 2. You're watching YD Red Sox baseball on the YD Red Sox Baseball Network.
Or from our event staff that walk you through the stands to make it easy for you to buy.
Back here from Red Wilson Field, Brad Klein and Will Connerly here for the top of the 6th inning. Brewster 3 and YD 1. New pitcher on the mound for the Red Sox. First bullpen move for Scott Pickler of 2021. And it's Jacob Metter from TCU. Fastball, curveball, changeup, 3-pitch pitcher out of the pen. And the righty will first go up and face Cooper Weiss, the second baseman. Fastball popped up, foul ground. Hunter navigating, trying to find it in the shade. He squeezes it for the first out. Oh, we mentioned the shade is slowly but surely creeping into fair territory, and it is smothering foul ground down the third base line.
And Hunter did a great job there. He popped off the mask, he looked up, and for a while I wasn't sure where that ball was going because you saw the way that Metter was tracking towards home plate like it was going to be out of play, but it kind of trickled back in, and Hunter was able to corral it for an out, and that's what you love as a pitcher. You're able to make a good pitch, he puts a bad swing on it, and you're able to execute with an out.
So here's Curtis Byrne. The catcher 0 for 2, 2 strikeouts. Fastball right down Main Street, strike one. So here we go. TCU matchup here. Metter and Byrne. Two freshmen.
Byrne probably caught a lot of Metter, knows his stuff well.
And observing that stuff, 2 pitches, 2 fastballs, 2 strikes.
And it's not the first time we're going to see two guys from their respective universities competing against each other here in this league. A lot of players trickled throughout the league from similar schools, and TCU matchup being one here. But Metter, 10 appearances this past year, 4 games started for the Horned Frogs, and a very talented pitcher out of the bullpen first, trying to continue to keep this deficit where it's at for the Red Sox.
No balls and 2 strikes to Byrne. And Byrne watches the fastball just off the plate again. So after changing up the signs and going over it again with Cade Hunter, just a missed fastball by Metter. Breaking ball just off the plate again.
Metter with the 92-mile-an-hour fastball, high spin rates, and a guy who a lot of his stuff plays to work up in the zone. See what he does.
Swing and a miss, strike 3. Got his teammate Byrne for ultimate bragging rights and also for the second out. Third strikeout of the day for Curtis Byrne now.
Now batting for Brewster, number 24, the shortstop, Alex Freeland from Coastal Florida.
Brings up Alex Freeland, the shortstop, 0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored that came in the third inning. That's the last time Brewster scored, put up a 3 spot in the third, and that's how they got to 3 today right now. And YD last scored in the 6th, or rather second. Fastball in there for strike 1.
Yeah, YD, they've scattered 4 hits on the offensive end, but just manufactured that 1 run in the bottom of the second.
Another fastball taken low, so you hear me saying fastball, fastball, fastball. Deja vu, my condolences, because Metter throws his fastball, at least he did at TCU, 62% of the time last year.
He likes to rely on that heater, and it's a pretty good one, so why wouldn't you?
And there is that wicked changeup. A lot of movement in there for strike 2. And Freeland grounds that one sharply over to Baez. He fields it with 2 hands and flips it to first for Metter in time for the final out of the inning. A clean top of the 6th for Metter out of the bullpen. And in the middle of the 6th, it's YD trailing by 2. We go to the bottom half, and the Red Sox look for vengeance.
If you think you know the answer.
Back on the YD Red Sox network, YD trailing Brewster by 2 in the bottom of the 6th inning. And Nate Baez settles in for his 3rd at-bat of the day, over 2 flyouts. Hunter Pattison, the lanky lefty, on for his 2nd inning of work, and a quick lined foul back to the cage. Baez was right on the fastball.
And Pattison looked really good against the top of the order for the Red Sox as well. Just the hit to Brooks Lee, what he surrendered, but Ferreras did put a pretty good piece to end the inning, but so did Baez also in left field last time up, hit it to the fence. Both of his flyouts have ended the inning.
And a nice changeup in there, make that a slider. On the inside corner for strike 2, so Nate Baez a spectator. The leadoff man in the bottom of the 6th. Like I mentioned, a lot of zeros for YD. Last scored in the 2nd, broken bat number to short. On comes Freeland to make the play for out number 1. Well, Alex Freeland had to really turn on the burners there, and a great throw for the shortstop.
Wow, that was a great play. He charged that in between, right behind the mound, sprinting, barehanding it, and firing it over in the nick of time. Tremendous athletic play right there from Freeland, the switch-hitting shortstop. And the Central Florida infielder really showing his talents today. Has made a couple great plays in the middle infield for Brewster.
Big swing and a miss by Drew Compton, the DH from Wake Forest, who is 0 for 0. Was hit by 2 pitches in his first 2 plate appearances. Oh, excuse me, Drew Compton from Georgia Tech. No balls and 2 strikes now to Compton. Quickly ahead is Pattison. And the fastball just misses 1 and 2. I was talking to Compton actually before the season started. He told me that his number 1 focus is making sure that he has a clean stroke, a smooth stroke, which I was surprised to hear because you watch this guy's reel and it's picture perfect. So Whitey was very excited to have him, and Compton really offers a lot to this program.
He really does. He's a really good hitter. Hit basically 300 this year.
And of that time, change up right down Main Street, strike 3, and 2 gone for Pattison.
Now batting for YD, number 14, the shortstop, Hunter Haas from Arizona State.
Brings up the Arizona State third baseman Hunter Haas. With 2 gone, no one on. Oh for 2 with a strikeout. Haas watches the tailing fastball, ball 1. Well, Haas was a freshman All-American this past year. He switched from shortstop to third base just to be in the lineup for Arizona State because they have that shortstop position figured out, and he just wanted to play, and he played well. Made the all-defensive team at a position that going into his Arizona State career didn't really expect to even play.
Yeah, that's the most phenomenal part about that story. He was the second-ranked shortstop in his state and then had to switch a position and became one of the better defenders at that position in the whole Pac-12. It shows his versatility, and that's something that you really like to see.
The 1-2 to Haas bounces low, 2-2.
But a lot of times, the best hitter's going to play. You know, you want your best 8-9 hitters playing. Got to figure out a way to adapt to get new positions to crack the lineup, and that's exactly what he did.
Well, there was another good thing that came out of that switch to third base, as the 2-2 is popped foul out of play down the first base line. He got himself a pretty cool nickname. Yeah, he can hit, but making the all-defensive team at third base, your name is Hunter Haas. You know what happened, right? He became the Haas Corner.
The Haas Corner?
Yeah, so it's up to us to keep that lineage going.
Absolutely, I'm on board with it. And he definitely lived up to that name, obviously known as the Hot Corner. See a lot of firepower balls right there, but
Haas.
He held that down, didn't he?
Yeah. Chin music for ball 3. Payoff pitch from Pattison. That one driven down the left field line and foul. So Hunter Haas gave it a ride and was just early on the changeup. So we'll do it again. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, no one on. YD down by 2. And Haas, the observer of a high fastball, and a 2-out walk puts the speedy Haas on first.
Now batting for Yarmouth Dennis, number 20, the center fielder, Peyton Graham.
Brings up
from
Peyton
Northern
Graham,
Oklahoma.
1 for 2 on the day. Single to right in the second and struck out swinging in the fourth. Graham, a guy that a lot of YD fans were very excited to have. He actually took a pitch to the face this past year, had 9 stitches above his eye, the Oklahoman, and he was hitting .306 before the injury. Afterwards, .236. So you look at his batting average of .288, and you're thinking, okay, Oklahoma, .288, freshman, why not? But in reality, he's a lot more dangerous than the stats show.
11 home runs as well. 185. He has a lot of power in his 6'4" frame.
And the first pitch is taken just outside for ball 1.
And typically you see right-handed hitters hit much better against the lefties, but that wasn't the case for Graham. Graham just hit .217 versus lefties, but .316 versus right-handed pitchers.
Swing and a miss on the lefty through the fastball, count even at 1-1. You have to wonder, and of course it's been proven, it's been documented, righties hit better against lefties, lefties hit better against righties. You wonder how much of that is a mindset, because especially for a guy like Graham, he mostly faces righties, just a matter of the youth leagues and who you see. Most people are right-handed. He's used to that. And that one is driven down the right field line and foul. That one hung up there for a while. Looked like off the bat it was going to be way out of play, but Cross was able to get at least within 10 feet of it to at least give it a look.
And you talk about that relationship, and of course, yeah, you do see more righties. It becomes what you're comfortable with as well as a hitter, and also it can be variable because you may not see a lefty for a couple weeks, and of course, you see more right-handed pitchers as well.
1 ball and 2 strikes, 2 outs. And Peyton Graham watches the changeup on the outside corner, strike 3 called. Well, Pattison painting on the outside corner with the off speed. That retires the side, and YD strands a runner, Hunter Haas, on that 2-out walk. At the end of 6, YD still trailing by 2, 3-1. And this break brought to you by Milton Cat. For sales and rentals of Caterpillar machinery, generators, and marine engines, visit MiltonCat.com, your area cat dealer.
Cape Cod chicken salad with cranberries and walnuts.
Top of the 7th here, Brewster 3, YD 1. There have been a lot of zeros. Last run came in the 3rd inning. Brewster looking to change that, and for the play-by-play, here's Will Connerly.
Jacob Metter now for another inning of work. Thanks, Brad. Top of the 7th, YD trailing by a couple runs. You mentioned a lot of donuts up on the scoreboard. A 3-spot for Brewster in the top of the 3rd. That's been the difference thus far. They hold the advantage by 2 runs, 3-1 right now, and Metter for another inning of work will take the top of this lineup for Brewster. Colin Davis at the dish now, and then Schieckhofer and Cross to follow. Metter from TCU, a Burleson, Texas native, was selected by the Mariners in the 31st round of the 2019 MLB draft and has a lot of scouts' eyes watching him right now. A premier fastball has pitched a couple seasons at TCU, facing off against Colin Davis right now.
All the stats love the spin rate, and the stats love the vertical movement that Metter has.
Watch out as lumber goes flying, not into the stands though, as the netting blocks it from a foul balls or flying objects going into the stands, and it was the lumber that got stopped by that protective netting, so no fan gets to go home with that broken bat.
Well, more importantly, no fan has to go home with a broken face.
Or any injury that occurs, and you've seen across Major League Baseball and other stadiums have adopted mechanisms to protect the fans in a more efficient way. They've extended a lot of the nettings at a lot of Major League parks because fans were getting injured with flying objects, bats, and balls going into the stands. And definitely, first and foremost, the fan safety, all the great fans for the YD Red Sox at Red Wilson Field.
Well, the other thing is, if you're a hitter, that happens, which it's going to happen, especially against a guy like Metter. You're not used to that, and that's a bit of a culture shock. Here in the 7th inning of the first game, you're Colin Davis, and you've been raking at the collegiate ranks with a metal bat, and that's never something that even crosses your mind. Maybe my bat's going to snap, maybe it's going to hit someone, maybe I need a new bat.
Grounded to the left side. Haas picks it up. The throw brought Baez off the bag, and it will be a runner aboard for the Whitecaps. Colin Davis reaches after there was complications on the throw across the diamond from Haas.
Well, it's a tough throw, and Hunter Haas on the run. It was a pretty slow dribbler. It looked like he actually had more time than he gave himself credit for, but pulled Baez off the bag, and that's not the Hunter Haas that we're used to seeing. That's not the Haas corner.
3 errors today for the Red Sox, and a couple have come today. On the left side, you had Haas with the error right there in left field. There was an error committed as well on a foul ball that was dropped, and then also at first base with Baez. You mentioned not the prototypical Haas corner you've seen. Pac-12 all-defensive team right there, but a very tough play when you're running up on a ball and then you have to get rid of it quickly, set your feet, and fire it over. He has a very strong arm, but coming in and making a throw, it's a very tough angle, and that brought Colin Davis to reach base. Brewster looking for some insurance runs, just leading by a couple. The lefty on the mound has done a solid job in Pattison the past couple of innings, but a 2-run advantage, a runner aboard to begin the top of the 7th, and a few checks by Metter over at Colin Davis at first base after the E5. Richie Schieckhofer at the plate. Struck out in the first, was hit by pitch, and then came around to score in the third, and then grounded out in the fourth, hitting for their 4th time here in the 7th. And another check over, really keeping a close eye on Colin Davis. He is very speedy, stole a base back in the 4th inning and almost beat out a bunt if it wasn't for a great play made by Luis Ramirez, the starting pitcher for the Red Sox. And he is off to the races. Throw down by Hunter, but Davis gets there in time. Very, very speedy. A couple stolen bags for Davis, and a table setter at the top of the lineup. That's exactly what you want, somebody who's speedy.
It was actually a great throw by Hunter, and Brooks Lee, the shortstop, was a little tardy to get over and cover, and it's only because he was trying to play a true shortstop between second, between third, 45 feet away from the bag, and he had to really sprint over and just make sure that ball didn't get to center field. But again, it was a really good throw by Cade Hunter. You'd like to see Brooks Lee play a little closer to second in that situation.
So 1 ball, 1 strike, nobody out. Schieckhofer at the plate, swinging it from the left side. Struck out looking in the first. Hit by pitch in the third, then grounded out in the 4th. Now hitting with a runner in scoring position. 1-1 count here against Metter. And the pitch. Inside, scoots away from Hunter, and 90 more feet is Colin Davis, so he's at third base with nobody out here in the 7th, and Brewster in prime position to tack on another insurance run. Schieckhofer initially was at Maryland, then transferred over to Rutgers. Hit .316 in 2021 with 1 home run and 21 runs driven in. And looking to drive one in right here in the 7th, his team up by 2 runs. Ground it ball over to Lee, keeps it in front of him, throws it across the diamond and gets the out. The infield was in, and the Red Sox keep Davis at third, 1 away.
Well, Lee with just great awareness, and he didn't really check the runner visibly. He didn't look over to make sure that Colin Davis would be staying put at third base, but he felt it. He actually recognized the fans not reacting to a runner coming home. He recognized the body language from the periphery, and he was able to make the play, even though he didn't field it cleanly. Tough to do that right on the grass. He made the play, gathered, set his feet, and made the throw that he had to. Beautiful play by Brooks Lee.
And the breaking ball is in there from the right-hander. Predominantly throws fastballs, but you don't want to be predictable in a situation with a runner on third base and getting ahead with the off-speed. Nothing in 1 to count with 1 out. You have Davis, who stole a base and then moved up to third after the ball scooted away from Hunter. And 2 quick strikes here against the third hitter in the Whitecaps lineup, Gavin Cross, plays at Virginia Tech. That pitch on the outside black, just missed. 1 ball and 2 strikes here with 1 out.
Well, we mentioned it before when we had a TCU matchup pitcher-batter, but now you have a Virginia Tech hitter, Virginia Tech catcher, and Cade Hunter. You wonder if there's any chirping going on opening day.
But also Hunter knows what Cross likes, knows what he hits, but of course they're all having fun and conversations, and he does dial up the right call. The off-speed was running away from Cross. He took a healthy hack but came up empty, and there's a strike 3. Metter gets Cross swinging, and after having Davis on third base with nobody out, you get the ground out to Brooks Lee with the infield in and a strikeout, and now you can get out of this situation with no runs across the board. That would surely be momentum in the hands of YD. As the designated hitter, Will Simpson, comes to the plate. And he's had a very fine day, 3 hits on the day for him. Also came around to score in the third as the designated hitter swinging it from the right side facing Metter. And a swing and a miss. Metter has started to really lock in with his pitches, especially once Davis advanced to third base. The first time that Simpson has seen the right arm of Metter, who came in the 6th after 5 innings of work and 1 earned run from Ramirez with 6 strikeouts. The second inning for Metter. 2 balls and a strike here with 2 outs. A 2-run lead for Brewster, and the pitch. Breaking ball that is very sharp in there for a strike, evening the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes here with 2 outs.
Well, that's that Metter curveball. We don't see it extremely often, but when you go fastball, 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 it looks that much more dangerous.
So Metter gets the signs from Hunter. 2 balls and 2 strikes, the pitch, and it runs full. Now 3 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs. Davis at third base. Simpson looking for his 4th hit at the plate, trying to drive in some insurance for Brewster. And Metter looking to get out of what looked like a jam. He's 1 pitch away. The full count pitch. Breaking ball in there, and it's fouled away. Tight, sharp break, but Simpson was able to recognize it early enough just to fight it off.
Well, that's protective hitting right there, and Metter pretty much has the confidence, all the confidence he needs to get this out. Simpson recognizing that, just trying to tread water.
Simpson, selected in the 18th round of the 2019 draft, hit .310 at Washington this past season. 6'4", 225 as he fouls back another 3-2 pitch. Really battling here against Metter. A tough get, already has had 3 hits today. Hit .310 during the year with 7 home runs and 35 runs driven in at the University of Washington. And the payoff pitch again is upstairs, going to be ball 4. And so Simpson will reach for a 4th time. And that will bring up Jake Thompson, who struck out looking in the first, was hit by the pitch in the 3rd, and reached on a fielder's choice in the 5th, up for a 4th time with runners on the corners and 2 away here in the top of the 7th. Thompson playing third base today. First time he's seen this right-hander in Metter. But they both play collegiate baseball at the Division I level in the same conference. Oklahoma State for Thompson and Metter at TCU. Hit .342 with 4 home runs and 32 runs driven in at Oklahoma State this past season. A solid left-handed hitter in that lineup. 0-1 the count, 2 outs, and 2 runners aboard. They're at the corners. The 0-1 misses high, 1 ball and a strike. 4 hits for Brewster, 4 hits for the Red Sox. They've been scattered throughout. They just manufactured 1 run in the bottom of the 2nd. played a little small ball, moving a guy over, then hitting a ground ball to the right side, which produced the run, but that's the only one the Red Sox have got today, as the breaking ball is in there for a strike, and they trail by 2 runs here in the 7th. The second relief inning of work for Metter after Ramirez went 5, facing off against Thompson. So Simpson, the runner at first, Davis at third, and the pitch. As it's fouled back, Simpson was off to the races on that pitch here with 2 outs. Trying to get a little movement right there was the Whitecaps.
I like that move to send Simpson. Even though he's not the fastest runner on the team, you're going to be hard-pressed if you're YD to really run a play here. Maybe Lee wants to cut it off and try to get the runner home, but if you force a throw over to second, you're in pretty good shape with a pretty fast runner and Colin Davis on third base.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Davis is really fast, already with a couple stolen bases, and he's been aggressive as well. He's not afraid to showcase his speed. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs, and 2 runners on here in the top of the 7th, and a 2-run deficit as well for the YD Red Sox.
If Simpson tries again, I would not be surprised if there's no throw.
And the pitch misses low. Another full count. This time it's to Jake Thompson. Last time the full count swung in favor of Simpson, who drew a free pass and reached for his 4th time today. Now here against Thompson. What will the right-hander go to here?
Runners in motion.
Off with the pitch, but the changeup pulling the string on Thompson, and a couple are stranded after a runner on third and nobody out. Metter digs deep, gets out of it, nobody across. We send it to the bottom of the 7th. YD down 3-1 on the YD Red Sox Network.
Stand up.
Back for the bottom of the 7th, the Red Sox trailing 3-1 here in the season opener. So glad that Cape Cod baseball is back. It was a long wait after a 1-year hiatus last year. COVID-19 canceled the season in 2020, but back here in 2021. And looking at the attendance around, all the people have come out to support the Red Sox in this opener. And first pitch swinging for Cade Hunter, and he's retired as he grounds it to the first baseman on the right side. And this left-hander, Pattison, has really done well in relief after 4 innings from Barnett. Pattison has worked well through this Red Sox order.
Yeah, he has, and we'll talk about Pattison in a second, Will, but I have to mention this. Cade Hunter ran really well down the first base line, especially for a catcher, making that at least a little bit of a play for Owens at first. I mean, we're learning a little bit about every player on opening day. Note to self, Cade Hunter running like JT Realmuto.
Typically, you mentioned catchers don't do that well, but ninth place hitters in the order sometimes do that well, and he's hitting there in that 9th spot, kind of that double leadoff situation, as Luttrell, the leadoff hitter, is at the plate, and he swings at a high fastball through it, 1 ball, 1 strike, here with one out against the lefty Pattison.
But you're right, Pattison has really done a good job, and only one walk as a blemish for him, but you have to be happy, and he's been put in a really good position to succeed. I mean, actually a walk and a single as well as a blemish for him, but he's been put in a good position because he was brought in that 5th inning to face the top of the order, and first 2 hitters for YD in this order are lefties, and then you have Brooks Lee, the switch hitter. But Luttrell right now doing a pretty good job staying on these fastballs and making Pattison work a little bit more than he did in that 5th inning.
Barnett went 4 innings and surrendered just 1 earned run, got 4 strikeouts. Then they went over to Pattison. He came in the 5th, and the first hitter he faced was Luttrell. And a swing and a miss right there, and he retires him another time. Luttrell now 0 for 3. That brings up Tanner Smith, also swinging it from the left side.
Right fielder Tanner Smith from Eugene, Oregon.
The 3rd strikeout for the left-hander out of the bullpen. Now in his 3rd inning of work, will face off against Tanner Smith, who struck out looking in the 1st, popped up in the 3rd, and grounded out in the 5th. Tanner Smith toward the top of this order, swinging it from the left side, and he played in the Northwoods League in 2019 and 2020, now taking his talents to Cape Cod, and he grounds it towards Freeland at short, and he's been sure-handed today. That instance was no different, and a 1-2-3 inning of work, 3 clean innings out of the pen for Pattison, and the Whitecaps lead 3-1 as we send it to the 8th on the YD Red Sox Network. To the 8th we go. Metter out there for another inning of work. Will Connerly alongside Brad Klein, and the YD Red Sox trailing by a couple runs. Ramirez went 5, and now the right-hander in for another inning out of the bullpen, working here in the 8th now. And he's been solid out of the pen so far for YD.
Well, it's fastball, fastball, fastball. Throw a curveball in there and looking like Kershaw, because after those fastballs, you're so culture shocked. And Metter, credit him, because he got out of a big-time gem. Had the error by Hunter Haas, the 3rd baseman, that put a runner on board. Ended up stranding that runner on 3rd base with a ground out and 2 strikeouts. Really clutch for Metter.
You mentioned that fastball, very dominant, but he was able to end the inning by pulling the string on Thompson, now facing Owens here to start off the 8th. A 3-1 advantage for Brewster at the plate right now, and the first baseman Owens swinging it from the left side as he fouls it back to the screen. 2 balls and 2 strikes is the count. Cooper Weiss on deck, and he was the first batter that Metter faced. He popped up to the catcher Hunter in his first appearance against this right-hander, who's offering solid work out of the bullpen. A swing and a miss right there, and it's strike 3. Another strikeout registered for this right-hander. He got 2 last inning and had 1 in his first relief inning. Total of 4 out of the bullpen, and there's 1 down in the top of the 8th.
The second baseman, Cooper Weiss from Coastal Carolina.
Well, again, it's that fastball that Metter uses so many different ways. It can be a throwaway pitch with all the spin he has, and the vertical movement. It can be a throwaway pitch upstairs on 2 strikes, but also, like you mentioned, drop the hammer as that 2-strike, let me get this out pitch.
The Whitecaps won a CCBL title in 2017. Since 2004, the YD Red Sox have captured 6 titles, all under the direction of Scott Pickler. Jamie Shevchuk, though he did get that title in 2017, in his 7th year with the team and 6th season at the helm for Brewster. 2 balls and no strikes as Metter delivers the pitch. It's belted towards center field, and no doubt about it, a long ball, and touching them all, Cooper Weiss, as he parks it to center field. Although just 352 to center, he got a hold of that one into the trees beyond the fence, and it's 4-1 in favor of Brewster.
Now, the only problem with throwing a 1-out fastball again is that Cooper Weiss is sitting on it. That's the problem, is that you throw your fastballs nearly 65% of the time. Eventually they're going to sit on it, but again, hasn't been an issue because even though you're sitting on it, there's so much spin, it's so dominant. But eventually Cooper Weiss is going to catch up to it, and there you go. Brewster breaks through, first time since the 3rd.
Now facing Curtis Byrne, who's been the backstop today for Brewster. 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts thus far in the contest. Here in the top of the 8th, though, if you missed it, Brewster launches a long ball. Cooper Weiss to center field to extend their lead, get some late inning insurance runs. And now they lead by 3 here in the top of the 8th. The offering to Byrne from Metter, and it's a swing and a miss. Metter with 10 appearances at TCU this past season. And a swing and a miss for Byrne as he's retired for the 4th time, all via the punch-out. And there's 2 away. There's Alex Freeland, the shortstop, who will now come up to the plate. He's been great in the field, though, today, hasn't he?
No, absolutely, but now I'm looking at Metter, and you're starting to kind of mentally tabulate his line, and the home run's going to put a really big dent on it. But Cooper Weiss doing what he does best, but Metter has been fantastic. 5 strikeouts in 2 and change, and I don't want anything to be taken away from him because of that home run. Should be noted, that's the first hit that Brewster has on him.
And Weiss at Coastal Carolina, as a sophomore from Fort Myers, Florida, hit .208 with just 3 home runs in the 21 season. 44 starts for him. In 2020, though, had 2 home runs. Not a guy who puts the ball out of the park a ton, but went dead center here at Red Wilson Field off of the talented right-handed pitcher. Got a hold of it. It was right in his wheelhouse, and a lot of times the balls go far when the hitters can get a hold of fastballs up. Here with 2 outs in the 8th. A 4-1 lead for Brewster as Freeland is at the plate. And he pops this one toward the left side. Haas is back on it, getting called off, and Lee makes the play. That's the 3rd out. Not before Weiss goes yard, though, and it's a 4-1 lead for Brewster. They tack on another on the solo shot. To the bottom of the 8th we go. We'll see if YD can't get some offense going. We'll find out next on the YD Red Sox Network.
50-50 winners.
Back with you for the bottom of the 8th. The Red Sox trailing in this one 4-1 against Brewster in the 21 season opener. Brad Klein alongside myself, Will Connerly, and here in the bottom of the 8th, we'll see if the Red Sox can't manufacture some offense. 3, 4, and 5, the heart of the order due up. And Lee grounds it to the right side, was able to get a base hit off of Pattison, the left-hander. That's the only base knock the Red Sox have out of this lefty from Brewster's bullpen, which came back in the 5th. And here in the bottom of the 8th, we'll see if Lee can't start off the Red Sox on the right foot.
Should be noted, though, going forward for Brewster, that their bullpen is pretty evenly distributed. They have, including Pattison, they have 6 lefties available today and 5 righties, actually. So that's something rare. That's something that could be a strength going forward for Brewster, their availability and their flexibility out of the bullpen.
Absolutely. You don't always see so many lefties, and they can mix and match a lot, play matchups, and also look ahead and see, hey, what teams, once you get to know the teams, are we going to play our lefties against? What teams have the best left-handed hitters? But they've been utilizing today this lefty, but a couple of hits for Lee from the right side. His first 2 at-bats were from the left-hand side, but now from the right side has a couple singles, and he's 3 for 4 today. And we're not too surprised, a national co-freshman of the year, 3 for 4 in his first game for the YD Red Sox.
Special player, knows how to hit. I said he could spray to all fields, and right there, not trying to do too much. You know you're down by 3. Just get on base, use that big gap between the third baseman and the shortstop, Thompson and Freeland.
So Pattison comes set, now going to have to work from the stretch. Didn't have to do that in the 7th, went 1, 2, 3. After Barnett went 4, Pattison had a clean 5th, 6th, and 7th, now working here in the 8th, but the leadoff single for Brooks Lee as Pasquinel Ferreras is at the dish with a 0-1 count. Ferreras is 1 for 3 today. That pitch missing up and away. We talked about how he does have some good pop, just like Brooks Lee, who has 3 base hits today. But getting aboard is what the Red Sox need, trailing by 3 runs as we approach the last couple innings in this one here in the bottom of the 8th, down by 3. And the pitch from the left-hander, foul back. But now in the 4th inning of work for this southpaw, you wonder how deep they want to let him go out of the bullpen.
Well, no action in the Brewster bullpen right now, and you have to think that it's pretty much his game to finish at this moment. They have a lot of talent in that bullpen, and if you don't have to use it, don't use it. Just going forward, remember, it's a pretty vigorous schedule. 40 games locked up very tightly in basically 2 months. So if you can stay healthy, if you could stay fresh, do so.
Absolutely. There's games all around the league. Every night you can catch some action. Of course, 4-1 right now in the bottom of the 8th. But Chatham facing Falmouth, and it's 5-4. Chatham on top in the top of the 4th at Falmouth, and no score against Harwich and Orleans. That game at Orleans at Eldridge Park in the bottom of the 2nd. So some action around the league in the Cape Cod Baseball League, and of course more on the horizon tomorrow as the Red Sox will hit the road tomorrow, facing off against Harwich. That game scheduled to start at 6:30. A swing and a miss by Ferreras, and he is retired by the southpaw. Another strikeout for the left-hander. That's his 4th out of the bullpen, and now that brings up Nathan Baez. So 1 down in the bottom of the 8th. Baez at the plate. Brooks Lee, who has 3 hits today, standing at first base, getting a miniature lead with the left-hander on the mound. And a 3-run lead for Brewster. As Baez takes that pitch for a ball. 0 for 3 today for Baez, but put some good lumber on it to end the third inning, stroked it well, but Schieckhofer made a nice play in left to retire him to end the third. Had some warning track power. He ended the first on a fly out to right, the third on a fly out to left field, and also grounded out in the sixth. Now up for the fourth time here in the eighth. Grounded out last time against this lefty.
You can make the argument that Schieckhofer catches the play of the game so far.
And that ball's hit well. It's going to be down, potentially extra bases for Baez. He's going to round and go to second. Throw is in, slide is in, and he's safe. Runners on second and third, and YD in business as Drew Compton, the designated hitter, will hit with 2 runners in scoring position and just 1 away. A big-time hit right there in the late innings by Nathan Baez.
Gapper absolutely needed for Baez and for YD as a whole. Now you have 2 runners in scoring position, down by just 3. And you have a guy with a lot of home run pop. Now, again, you don't need a home run, of course. Just keep the line moving here, but YD can smell it, and they're finally getting some luck off of Patterson.
The inning started off as the left-hander was approaching his 4th inning of work, embarking on his 4th inning of work, going up against the heart of the order in Brooks Lee, Pascal Ferreras, and Nathan Baez, the 3, 4, and 5. Brooks Lee got a single, Pascal Ferreras struck out, and then Baez comes up with the extra base hit, first one of those today for the Red Sox, and that brings up Drew Compton, the designated hitter, and also represents the tying run. So things getting a little more interesting toward the later innings, bottom of the 8th. As Compton swings, that's going to be down. 1 run's going to come across, and waving home is another run, and YD gets back on the board as Brooks Lee comes across and Baez comes across, and the Red Sox now just trail by a run after the clutch 2 RBI hit by Drew Compton. He stuck the bat out there, and good things happened as the ball landed in the outfield, and 2 runs come across on the single to right field.
It's a nice piece of hitting by Compton, not trying to do too much, and he knew that on the breaking ball to the outer half of the plate, just take the ball where it's going already, opposite field, and Compton doing what he does best.
And now the designated hitter, Compton, he's going to come off. He's going to be run for. Briley Knight going to come out and run. So he's at first, will come in for Compton. After YD's made this game much more interesting in the bottom of the 8th, they haven't played it a run since the bottom of the 2nd until the 2 RBI base knock from Compton. Doing the job as the designated hitter, and then they get more speed on the base paths with Briley Knight now at first. So came in to pinch run, but 3 hits in this 8th against Patterson. In the prior 3 innings, the Red Sox just had 1 hit off of this stingy left-hander, but the middle of the order, seeing him for a second time out of the pen, they've got to him this time.
You don't want to be selective here because he's leaving his pitches middle. The velocity is down. He's starting to get tired. Be aggressive.
Pitch misses up and away. Hunter Haas at the plate, struck out looking in the 2nd, reached on a fielder's choice in the 4th, and reached on a walk in the 6th. And now a mound visit is going to be in effect for Brewster. But how about the Red Sox? 3 hits in this inning. In Compton, you mentioned that great piece of hitting, first offering, sticking the bat out there, and getting 2 runs coming.
It's almost like a pseudo check swing in a way, and basically a half swing, knowing, okay, again, I don't have to do too much and let the velocity of the fastball coming in do the work. So right now, Harrison Rakowski is really turning on the burners in the bullpen for Brewster, trying to figure out how he can get in the game as soon as possible. Because right now, Pattison has close to nothing for Brewster.
And it looks like he's coming off right now. So there will be a new arm into the game for Brewster. And it was so interesting with Compton. Has a lot of pull power, but they go outside. And you mentioned great piece of hitting, taking it to the other field, not trying to pull the ball. Of course, with 2 runners in scoring position at that point, you want to get happy and try to get the extra base hit, but he got the job done in that regard. But a new arm into the game. It's going to be another left-hander out of the bullpen for Brewster. Brian Fitzpatrick is going to toe the rubber, 6'7", 225. From Rutgers University, a junior. So we'll step aside as he will toss his warm-up pitches. 4-3. YD just trailing by 1 after they've plated a couple runs on 3 hits here in the bottom of the 8th. So Brewster makes a pitching change here in the bottom of the 8th. It was a single by Brooksley, strikeout by Ferreras, a double by Baez, and then a single by Compton, which turned into Briley Knight, who's now running at first base, pinch running. And then Hunter Haas, 2 balls thrown to him by Pattison. Looked like he was looking at his hand. He came off in a 2-0 count, and that brings up another left-hander, a bigger one in 6-7, in Brian Fitzpatrick, who's on the mound. He was a freshman at Rutgers this past year. 17 2/3 innings pitched, 3-2 record, 2 saves, a 6.11 earned run average with 20 strikeouts compared to 7 walks. And he's working with a 2-0 count, 1 out in the bottom of the 8th, trying to protect a 1-run lead.
And 3 1/3 for Pattison for about 3 of those innings. He was dominant. He was untouchable, but it looks like Brewster might have kept him in just a little bit too long, potentially, because before he left with what looked to be potentially an injury, grabbing his fingers, slow walk back to the dugout, he was losing some velocity and definitely losing some control of his breaking ball.
And the Red Sox were able to get to him. 1 hit allowed in 3 relief innings. But then the 4th inning of work, YD gets 3 hits off of him. They now have 7 hits, out hitting Brewster, but still trailing by a run, 4-3, here in the bottom of the 8th. A swing and a miss on the high fastball as Fitzpatrick got it in there. 2 balls and 2 strikes with 1 out and 1 aboard. The pitch, a swing and a miss. So Fitzpatrick comes out of the bullpen. Always tough situation, and with a runner on base, but he also had a 2-ball, no-strike count and still managed to climb back and get Hunter Haas. So a nice work by the left-hander to fight from down in the count to turn around and strike out Haas 2 away.
Now here's the deal. That actually goes down as a strikeout for Pattison in the books. So,
Because he started the at-bat?
yeah, that's a steak dinner. That's what we call it. Pattison owes him a steak dinner.
2 outs, 1 aboard. Peyton Graham at the plate as he represents the go-ahead run. Had double-digit home runs for the Sooners of Oklahoma this past spring with 11, which was 1 shy of the team lead. Connor McKenna had a dozen. Here in the bottom of the 8th, tying run at first base in Briley Knight, who came into pinch run for Drew Compton, who came through with the 2 RBI single to right field. Graham facing off against this lefty from Rutgers, who held opponents to a .241 batting average. It's fouled back to the screen. And Knight, of course, has some speed at first base. Fitzpatrick has tried to keep him close with his looks and his holds and has also gone over there. With Graham at the plate, the ever-important tying run over at first base here in the bottom of the 8th, 2 outs. Fitzpatrick kicks and delivers the pitch. It's a breaking ball that is swung through by Graham. Graham out in front of that breaking pitch that had tight spin through the strike zone. And now in a 0-2 hole against the tall left-hander.
Looks like he might be pressing. Ever since that single, 2 strikeouts, and early on that breaking ball there, Graham just has to ease up.
Graham fouls that one off to the left side. Had the single in the second and then a stolen base, which set up the first run for YD. They plated just 1 run in the bottom of the second and didn't score until this inning, the bottom of the 8th again, with 2 runs that have come across in Brooks Lee and Nathan Baez, who both had hits and then came around to score on the Drew Compton single. The 0-2 pitch from Fitzpatrick. A swing and a miss. He comes out of the bullpen, gets a couple strikeouts, strands the runner at first, and we're through 8. We send it to the final inning, 4-3. Brewster on top of YD on the YD Red Sox Network. Greetings from Red Wilson Field. We're about wrapping up with this opener, season opener in the Cape Cod Baseball League, and glad you've joined us here on YouTube. Back with you for the 9th inning. YD trailing 4-3 by a run right now. They call to the bullpen. Eric Yost, Jacob Metter pitched pretty well out of the bullpen. 3 innings and 2 hits, but one of which was a home run, the 1 run he allowed, but 5 strikeouts out of the pen after Luis Ramirez went 5 innings and had 6 strikeouts. And now to work the 9th is Eric Yost, and he gets the first pitch in there for a strike against the top of the order. He'll face Colin Davis, Richie Schieckhofer, and Gavin Cross. And Colin Davis has utilized his speed today, a couple stolen bases despite reaching on an error last time, stole second, then stole when he had a single in the 4th. But toward the final inning of work, it was YD who made things exciting, trying to make a comeback last inning. That Drew Compton hit sparked some life in that Red Sox dugout.
That's exactly what they needed, and now Eric Yost comes on. It's a completely different outing for him. When he started warming up, it was, okay, I'll get my inning of work in and we'll go to bed. But now he has a chance to keep his team in the game and potentially even get the win. So this is a huge inning for Yost.
Yost, 6'2", 198 from Northeastern. As the right-hander is working against the top of the order of Brewster, and that's another hit for Colin Davis. He's second hit toward the top of the order for Brewster, and you have to watch out when he gets on the base paths. He's showcased his excellent speed today and now dangerously fast on first base.
Richie Schieckhofer from Rutgers.
So 2 hits today for Davis. Richie Schieckhofer now at the plate. Was hit by pitch in the 3rd, grounded out in the 4th and the 7th. He's 0 for 3 with a strikeout as well, but reached on that hit by pitch in the 3rd inning of work. But Yost's outing begins with a leadoff single, and always tough, of course, when you have the speed of Colin Davis at first. The ball scoots away from Baez. It was Yost who wanted to look over at first, but Davis hadn't gotten a big lead yet. Seemed like it may have caught Baez off guard, but the ball wasn't too far away from him, and Davis wasn't able to advance.
This is typically the situation that Northeastern likes to use Yost in 8th, 9th inning, setup guy potentially. A 3-pitch pitcher that has a lot of promise. He can dial it up to about 93 miles an hour. But Eric Yost forced to go from the stretch early on. That's a complete game changer for Yost.
A second-team all-conference selection in his freshman campaign, had 19 appearances and had a 4.57 ERA, 4 saves. And all 4 saves on the season came during a 5-appearance span for the right-hander where he just really went on a tear. He went 11 consecutive appearances without surrendering a walk, has some pretty solid control, and went through a stretch where he was really throwing the ball with great effectiveness for Northeastern, and YD hopes he can do the same as well as Eric Yost is working here against Richie Schieckhofer. That pitch is in there for a strike, so now Schieckhofer has to battle with a couple strikes. Davis, the runner at first base. Yost trying to keep things where they are, just a 1-run deficit for the Red Sox as that ball's fouled off to the left side and out of play. Schieckhofer hit .316 in 2021, hit .375 in the 2020 abbreviated campaign. Grounds it to the right side. Ferreras over to Lee. The throw is high and not in time to Baez, but they do get the lead runner. And there's one away. Schieckhofer reaching via the fielder's choice.
Now hold on here. Colin Davis is sticking around. He really thought he was safe, but eventually gets the final verdict there.
For Brewster, number 28, the right fielder, Gavin Cross from Virginia Tech.
Joe Hilton was adamant about that call at second base, but I actually thought that Davis might have had a bit of a case there because Lee might have come off early.
And that's what Davis was trying to explain, but he was trying to persuade the umpire, but typically hard to change their mind after they've already made that call. And he made his way back to the dugout. If it works out for YD, you'd much rather have Schiekofer on first base than Davis, but Schiekofer can run as well. Toward the top of this order, some good speed for Brewster. 2 balls, no strikes to the third place hitter, Gavin Cross. And he swings through the 2-0 pitch, has struck out a couple times today, was hit by the pitch in the first, and also grounded out in the fifth, 0 for 3 with a couple strikeouts. But Cross, a very, very talented player, one of the more highly touted players on this Brewster team. Hit .345 at Virginia Tech this past spring. And now it's a 3-ball, 1-strike count as Eric Yost is trying to work against the middle of the order for Brewster here in the top of the ninth and pass it over to the Red Sox in the offense to see if they can't come through with some late inning heroics in the season opener. And it's Schiekofer who ends up stealing second base. The top of the order, the first and second hitters in this order have accounted for 3 stolen bases, 2 coming from Davis and now Schiekofer. And it was kind of a delayed steal. He didn't go right on the movement of the left leg from Yost, but got there in time and didn't have a chance, but now in scoring position, and it takes the double play out of effect. That ball missed low, and now runners on first and second after the full count breaking ball was in the dirt. So runners on first and second, 1 out, and a 1-run lead for Brewster, but surely looking for insurance as Will Simpson comes to the plate. He's 3 for 3 and also reached on a walk in the 7th, has been on the base paths 4 times today. He's a very dangerous hitter at the plate as Yost will now face him for the first time.
Not the end of the world in that walk for Yost because now that double play, like you kind of alluded to, is back intact. So if you can get a ground ball, even on Gavin Cross, who runs very well, this could be the end of the inning.
Simpson hit .310 at Washington this past season. A swing and a miss on that offering from the right-hander. 7 home runs, 35 runs driven in, 20 walks and 3 stolen bases. His older brother Jack is a pitcher at Bucknell, another Division I university. 2 siblings really excelling at a high level on the baseball diamond, and there's another pitch in there for a strike. But Simpson from Washington off to a nice start in the Cape League, continuing to pick up where he left off in the spring. Through 45 games, he was pretty impressive. So runners on first and second. Here against Simpson. Brewster looking for insurance, and it's fouled away. Now there's 2 strikes. And Yost really looking for something good. You wonder if he wants to come inside to a dangerous hitter, but potentially could induce that ground ball double play. You have room to work with a 1-2 count. As Yost delivers the pitch, it's a breaking ball, and it's skied towards center field. Graham is there. He catches it in front of the fence and will throw it toward third base. Solid throw, but made Haas go a little bit up the left field line, and both runners advance on the fly out to center field. So runners on second and third, but now there's 2 outs, so YD 1 out away from stranding a couple runners and giving it off to the offense to see if they can't walk it off in the bottom of the 9th.
Yost doing a good job mixing up his pitches, not giving up anything. Some of these at-bats have actually been pretty long, and typically it's not of Yost to fall behind, even give up or stray away from the game plan at all, but more of attrition won by the Northeasterner.
And he gets ahead with a strike right there to Jake Thompson. Thompson reached on a hit by pitch in the 3rd. and a fielder's choice in the 5th, and then has 2 strikeouts as well. He's 0 for 3. The 0-1 pitch, breaking ball in there for a strike. The runners on second and third. Brewster licking their chops, trying to get some insurance runs, holding on to a 1-run lead despite the Red Sox out hitting the Whitecaps in this opener. 2 runners in scoring position here, but nothing into the count. And the pitch from Yost is fouled away to the left side by the YD dugout. Due up for the Red Sox in the bottom of the 9th, it will be Cade Hunter, the 9th place hitter in the order. Then it flips back over to the top, Luttrell and Tanner Smith. So Hunter, Luttrell, and Smith be the final chance for the Red Sox. Yost dialing up the signs from Hunter, trying to get this pitch right. He'll step off. Important pitch here despite just an 0-2 count. You really would like to get Thompson here, not load the bases. You have room to work with, but small margin for error with runners on second and third despite having the open base. That pitch missing low and away. Hunter was getting ready to pop up quickly, having good communication with Haas in case Richie Schieckhofer gets too far off the bag at third. It was Davis who started the inning with a single, then was cut off the base paths on a fielder's choice by Schieckhofer. The walk by Cross has him at second. And that's a low pitch in the dirt. 2 balls and 2 strikes with 2 outs and 2 aboard. A 1-run advantage for Brewster, but in position to add a few more. Red Sox looking to strand a pair and send it to 9-1-2 in the bottom of the 9th. Yost comes set, gets the signs from Hunter, and delivers the pitch. Another low pitch. So from 0-2 to 3-2, being extra careful, especially with the open base. Clayton Owens is on deck. 0 for 4 today with a couple strikeouts.
Yeah, but if you're Yost, you don't want to play around. You just challenge him with your best pitch. So far, in my opinion, it's been the slider.
We'll see what he goes to here. He does go to the slider, gets out in front, but it's booted at second. 1 run comes across, but they do get the second out at home. 1 comes across, though, and Brewster now with a 5-3 lead after it was booted by Ferreras at second. Could have been the inning ender. It still was the inning ender, but not before a run comes across. A 5-3 lead for the Whitecaps. And we'll see if the Red Sox can't come back in the 9th. Hang with us to find out next on the YD Red Sox Network. To the bottom of the 9th we go. Final chance for the Red Sox. It will be Cade Hunter, Chase Luttrell, and Tanner Smith. 9-1-2 in the order against Brian Fitzpatrick, the big 6'7 lefty out of Rutgers. And he came in facing Hunter Haas with a 2-0 count, came back to strike him out, and then got Peyton Graham on strikes to end the threat. And that was coming off the heels of momentum for the Red Sox, who had Brooksley single, Baez double, and then Compton single to drive them both in. But it was Fitzpatrick who came in, shut the door, and now he's trying to win the game. Has a 2-run cushion now after a little defensive miscue to end the top of the ninth.
And Tyler Williams pinch hitting for Cade Hunter. I like this move by Pickler. Williams gives you a lot more power than Hunter, and you have plenty of other catchers that you can use, so it's not even an issue of lineup flexibility should YD score 2.
So Tyler Williams out of Little Rock, Arkansas. Little Rock, Arkansas, and the YD Red Sox have had a little bit of a pipeline. Some really good players out of Little Rock have come to play for the Red Sox over the past couple years. Is Tyler Williams, Chris Curry, who he plays for in his 7th season at the helm at Little Rock, trying to get things started here in the bottom of the ninth. Has a ton of speed. Hit 288, 50 games started in his 2nd year with Little Rock in 2021. Patrolled center field for Little Rock, originally from Georgia, but took his talents to Little Rock and now in the Cape League. Very excited to get action here. 2 balls and 2 strikes here against the big lefty Fitzpatrick. And again, it was scheduled to be Cade Hunter, but Pickler goes and puts Williams in to begin the bottom of the ninth. Williams pinch hitting, and it's fouled to the right side. Williams started 15 games in 2020, but just hit 220 on the year. But hit 288 with 8 home runs and 42 runs driven in 2021. And strike 3 called on Williams. He goes back to the dugout, and that's 3 consecutive strikeouts for Brian Fitzpatrick out of the bullpen. And that's Williams who is down on strikes. That brings up Chase Luttrell, the leadoff hitter in the order for the Red Sox. The first 2 strikeouts Fitzpatrick got were the 2nd and 3rd outs in the 8th, and then begins the 9th with 1 as well. He caught Williams looking as that ball is fouled back to the chain link fence from Chase Luttrell. They've got a pair of left-handed hitters atop this order, then Brooksley in the 3-hole, a switch hitter who has 3 hits today. YD trailing by a couple runs, looking to get some runners on base against this big left-hander. The 1-1 pitch to Luttrell misses high. Fitzpatrick, 6'7". Typically you see those dimensions on the hardwood. His father played basketball at the University of Buffalo. As that ball is hit well to the right side, and it's a base knock for Chase Luttrell. His first one of the season, 2nd time aboard. He led off the bottom of the 1st with a free pass and reached, and now gets his first hit of the season, and on base for Tanner Smith, who represents the tying run.
So YD's already left 9 runners on base, and that, in my opinion, looks like the difference. They've had plenty of chances, and they've escaped them. So if you're YD, it comes down to situational hitting, which is something that we saw a lot of from the Red Sox in the bottom of the 8th when they clawed their way back a little bit with a pair of runs. Drew Compton with a single to right field. That was really strong. It's just about keeping the line moving at this point.
Tanner Smith at the plate. Back-to-back balls, 2 balls and no strikes the count here against Tanner Smith. Here with one away, Brooks Lee on deck. He has 3 hits. He came around to score in the 8th on that Drew Compton RBI single. And Chase Luttrell, who has plenty of speed at first base, but not the run you're concerned about. That would bring YD within 1, but the tying run at the plate, and on deck, the go-ahead run. 3 balls and no strikes now, so the plot thickens. You could have Brooks Lee up with runners on first and second. Luttrell at first, a 3-0 count. Fitzpatrick had struck the last 3 hitters he had seen out, but led up a base knock to Luttrell, and now a free pass to Tanner Smith. And here comes Brooks Lee with runners on first and second, now representing the go-ahead run. Brooks Lee up at the plate.
That's the game-winning run. And Brooks Lee 3 for 4 right now. The thing I really enjoy about his game is that they're all singles. Not that I'm preferring singles here, but it just proves to you he's not trying to do too much. And again, keep the line moving. That's the name of the game. YD needs 2 runs, and of course his is a valuable one. Again, like I mentioned, would be the game-winning run, but Lee, if he can hit to the right side of the field, even if it's a ground ball rather, that should get at least 1 runner across and keep YD in the game.
Luttrell is at second. Tanner Smith is at first. Is the tying run. Brooks Lee the winning run. He hits this ball toward left field, and it is going to be a diving play, but it comes out of the glove. It was in the glove, then it was out for Cheekoffer, and now the bases are juiced for the Red Sox in the bottom of the 9th. Wow.
Tough play, and I'll tell you what, it's getting a little dark here at Red Wilson Field, literally, not just figuratively, and it's because, that sun we were talking about, that shade that was starting to trickle down the third base line, it's completely overtaken the entire field. It's getting to the point where if we have to play 10, we might not be able to. So, Cheekoffer misses the ball. It's actually ruled a hit, but still a tough play either way. Kind of a tweener.
So bases are loaded for Pascal Ferreras in a first pitch swinging. 0-1 the count. Fitzpatrick had struck 3 out in a row, but then Luttrell with the single. Tanner Smith draws the free pass, and Brooks Lee gets his 4th hit of the game. So Brooks Lee on first base, representing the winning run. First, that pitch up and in, so 1 ball and 1 strike with 1 out. Mentioned in the pregame show, Brooks Lee may be a player to watch out for. 4 hits right now. Maybe an easy answer to that question, National Co-Freshman of the Year. But Pascal Ferreras, 16 home runs. He could end it with a home run here. He had 16 at Western Carolina this past spring. And the offering misses low. 2 balls and a strike. Here with 1 away. Luttrell is at third, Smith is at second, Lee is at first, and Ferreras is at the plate. 2 balls and a strike with 1 away against the big left-hander Brian Fitzpatrick. And the pitch misses up and away again. 3 balls and a strike. And now Fitzpatrick in a situation where he could walk in a run. 3 balls and a strike. Ferreras surely thinking he may get a pitch in the zone. See if he won't let it rip here with a 3-1 favorable count. 1 out. And the base is loaded. That pitch in there for a strike. Fitzpatrick doing a good job of getting back in the zone. The count runs full.
Ferreras is sitting on a breaking ball there. Didn't think he'd be challenged with a fastball, and he was on the inner half. Great pitch.
So full count with 1 out and bases loaded. Red Sox down by 2 here in the bottom of the 9th. That pitch hit toward the left side. 1 run's going to come across. Pickler waves home another. The throw to the plate off the line, and the Red Sox tie it in the bottom of the 9th. Pascal Ferreras with a 2 RBI single, and now the Red Sox in position, 1 hit away from winning the game.
That's exactly what you want from Pascal Ferreras. You know, a lot of critics of the modern game say that players are looking to walk, but Ferreras is attacking. He got the pitch he wanted, able to pull it middle, and now a chance, golden opportunity for YD.
Nathan Baez at the plate. He popped out in the first and the third, grounded out in the sixth, but came up with a clutch double in the eighth. Could he be even more clutch here in the ninth? As that pitch is in there for a strike. We're now tied at 5. 2 runs have come across in the home half of the ninth. Behind 3 hits, the biggest one being Pascal Ferreras with 2 RBIs on the single. And the winning run at second base. That pitch in there for a strike. Baez now in an 0-2 hole here with 1 out. Brooks Lee, the winning run at second. Baez at the plate, looking to win it for the Red Sox. Fitzpatrick the 0-2. That ball is skied towards center field. Under it is Davis. And Lee will stay put at second base. And now the Red Sox down to their final chance. It's Briley Knight who now will come up to the plate. It was Drew Compton who came in to start the game as the designated hitter, was hit by the pitch in the second inning and the fourth inning, struck out looking in the sixth, but then came up with a clutch single in the eighth to bring the Red Sox within a run. But Briley Knight came in to pinch run, so now he's hitting in this spot in the order now. And the left-handed hitter facing off against Fitzpatrick, a swing and a miss on the first offering from the big lefty. 0-1 the count here with 2 outs. Red Sox looking to win it. They want to avoid ending this game in a draw. Lee at second with 4 hits today. And the offering from Fitzpatrick, it misses low. Riley Knight from Portland hit .247 this past spring. 40 hits, 7 doubles, and 6 home runs. And the 1-1 pitch from Fitzpatrick is in there for a strike. The Red Sox plated a run in the bottom of the second, but then it was zeros until the 8th. They had a couple runs, and then the 9th they scored a couple runs and then tied it. Pascal Ferreras with the game-tying single, 2 RBI single in the bottom of the 9th. But now a 1-2 count here to Briley Knight. That ball's grounded toward the right side. Weiss over to Owens. And so the YD Red Sox, they come up and score 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th, but not able to get the winning third. And this game in the season opener ends in a draw. 5-5 is the final, and we'll wrap things up next on the YD Red Sox Network.
Well, the Cape Cod opener was promised a lot of drama, and after 18 months, what did we get? A draw. YD5 and Brewster 5, Brad Klein and Will Connerly here to break it down on YD postgame. And Will, a little disappointing in baseball, especially in this year with COVID. No extra innings, and it was getting a little dark here. No lights at Red Wilson Field, so no extra innings. But maybe a moral victory for YD here. Came back down 2 to make it a tie game, 5-5 in the bottom of the ninth. Had the chance to win it, but came short.
Yeah, you were so close to getting the victory, and that, of course, was something that you wanted. Of course, the fans were getting excited, but you scored 2 runs in the bottom of the 8th, 2 runs in the bottom of the 9th. You showed some fight late. You didn't give up against Fitzpatrick, who came in, strikeout, 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 but then YD was able to figure him out. The lineup flipped over, and a man named Brooks Lee just continued to hit today, didn't he?
Yeah, we'll get to him in a second. I want to talk about Luis Ramirez, the starter for Yarmouth Dennis. 5 innings, 4 hits, 3 runs, only 1 earned, though. The slider was really good early, kind of lost it late. What did you think of Luis Ramirez in the opener?
He's very athletic. You saw him jump off the mound. That's kind of how he pitches, with that fire, with that great athleticism, but also that slider. Has a ton of movement. He can go to it often. And one thing he wants to develop and continue to develop from the perspective of the booth is having more command of that fastball so he can throw that slider in more situations. The second and third time through, the control of the slider, trying to throw it too much in different situations, had a couple of hits batters, 3 hits batters, but the strikeout stuff was there. I mean, just completely froze some hitters. He looks really good, and I think YD has a solid opening day starter.
All right, he does look good. I promised you we'd get to Brooks Lee. You're shaking over there. Let's do it. Brooks Lee, 4 for 5, was crucial in that bottom of the ninth comeback for YD. And what can you say about Brooks Lee? More importantly, how does this forecast for the rest of the season for YD? The fact that Brooks Lee, the shortstop, is looking early on like one of the elite middle infielders the league has to offer.
Well, he was before this league started. I mean, in the 2022 draft class, he's ranked by a lot of rankings as the 3rd hitter overall in that 2022 class. He had 2 hits from the left side of the plate, 2 hits from the right side of the plate today, and he just looked really good. Solid infielder as well, made some great plays. YD, when we talk about their defense, a little bit of issues there, but for sure, Brooks Lee, great today, and he met the standards that we thought when we were looking at all the numbers before the game and doing the research. He definitely produced today, and it was fun to see.
Yeah, projects as potentially as close as you can get to an everyday shortstop. Pickler likes to play to Rubik's Cube that lineup around and get some other guys around every other position, but Brooks Lee looking like a legit shortstop in the CCBL. Well, that does it for the opener, but we're right back at it again tomorrow in Harwich on Harwich time, 6:30 at night. Be sure to join us on YouTube Live like you did today. Thank you so much. We're going to have coverage for you every game, 39 more, so I'm excited for it. Harwich and Yarmouth.